go through.
From the accounting system,
Yeah,
okay? And we also have the, how it translates to a warrant and the state form.
okay. Wow. All right.
Yeah, put a hole in that one, too, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so. 696.
Jason, you want to start the ball rolling, or?
Did you try to call him?
Yes, I did. I got no answer.
Yeah. It's not 9 o'clock yet, according to my phone.
Yeah, clocks are funny. Susan, you feeling any better?
Oh yeah, I'm feeling a lot better, but it's when you feel better, it sounds ugly. Yeah.
All right, that's that. All right, what do we got here? Salaries.
I do get a kick out of Jim's notes in these. EOS voted to send limo to auction. Look at the moderator. And the elections one.
What's that?
From this time forward, the moderator is the maitre d'. It's just little notes. That's on our worksheet
Oh,
pages. They were helpful, them notes that he put in there to give sense.
I suppose if he does it with a sense of humor, you're more likely to read it, right?
It makes you want to read the next one
Yeah.
and see what he said. You see a NI glass truck out there?
I didn't see any glass truck. I've never seen a glass truck.
Oh, yeah.
Sean's,
That'd be a fragile, wouldn't it meet the safety standards nowadays?
No. I think, I'm not opposed to new technology, I like it. But I think people are absolutely nuts. They're gonna, in a few years, there's going to be a huge problem with what to do with all these goddamn electric cars. Hey, everybody came home from work or plugged their car right into town, went down.
yeah, right?
No.
Really? They don't have the capacity to support them.
Well, no, the biggest problem is building things. I mean, the requirements for the rare earths and the lithium,
Oh, I know.
there just isn't enough of it to,
Oh, I know,
to
I
actually build.
understand that, and they're gonna make a mess getting it.
And,
And disposing of these batteries and what to do
it's
with
gonna
them.
be an equal mess. That's almost as bad as radioactive material.
I know. They're all nuts. A wood-fired steam car.
Is a major polluter as well. You know, pick the way you're gonna
Somebody
pollute
just
things.
came in.
Again,
Did you guys open up the meeting already?
No, Bert
Okay.
requested it. but
Let's
I
do it.
asked
All
him.
right.
5 minutes early is on time.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Where do you want to start?
Well, Jim just passed out the actual budget worksheet, which we can sort of compare with our notes from the discussions with the department heads, and we can just go through it line item by line item and just kind of stop where we have an issue or a problem and just work our
I
way
remember-
through it
I
as
thought we were gonna look at this overall budget first before we tackle
overall,
each department, just to get
get
our,
a feel for where we're at.
where we're at and what we feel like needs to be happening, doesn't matter what the being done.
Okay, that's fine, we can just kind of talk
Just-
about
yeah, it
that in
doesn't take
general
much, but just to keep that in mind.
to see where we're at.
Your calculator, I can bring
You have a
Um,
calculator, Jim?
mine. Yeah, electric calculator. You have an outlet?
All right, so that would be what, page 15, is it?
Yeah.
You're on?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think I have one, but I'll see if there's one in the, you know.
Okay.
There's one in my office, I can get.
Um,
There you go.
Okay, that'll work.
Oh, that looks like we got some work to do.
yeah. Yeah, slicing and dicing. No. I guess I'd ask the question, does that $3.1 million include warrant articles?
No,
Does not. It,
Where are you at?
page
Which one?
15,
no, the warrant articles are
The
down.
very bottom of the page.
very
includes the
bottom,
warrant.
okay. So then we've got another 400.
It does include one or two items that were in the second bracket the year before. It includes the ambulance article is part of the first part, and that 3.1 million is not your budget. It's your budget, but not your budget.
No,
The
it-
best way to describe that is, it includes your operating budget article plus other items.
Plus,
Wait,
When you get down to warrant article expenses with 4.9 accounts, those are capital accounts. Those are capital expenditures.
so what is
So
the
you're
3.1
separating-
million?
It is the operating budget along with let me make sure I get it right, okay. I don't want to miss them all, miss any of them.
yeah, it's important to understand what the number represents.
Okay.
That's helpful.
I know there was some changes
It
that we made this
represents-
year.
What?
In the past, and this is out of step with the standard accounting procedures, you put the library down there in the 4909 number.
Right.
You put the ambulance, so I at least got those two in there.
Yeah,
That's part of that 3.1?
That's part of that 3.1 million, yes.
How
Okay.
come?
I'm gonna ask what that.
How come?
Yeah.
How come you put them there, or how come I took them out?
How come we took them out of the warrant articles?
They don't, they are warrant articles.
Okay.
The-
So you just put them into the,
They're a different class of numbers. You can have 20 warrant articles, and it's still your budget, okay? You can move money around between it and everything else.
okay,
Your operating budget article, your Article 2, or whatever it is whatever you want to make it. Whatever groups of things that you want to put together for the people to vote on at once.
okay. So, I guess, okay, if we slide down the page and go down to total warrant article expenses, and that looks like $970,000, is that included in that number up above of three?
I don't know where you are.
On page 15, look at warrant article expenses, go down to the bottom total, which is $970,000.
Yeah.
And then, is that number included in that 3.1 million? Up, just above that as total operating budget.
The 940.
Uh,
9.7.
97, nine,
It's not. Where are you?
on page 15,
Okay.
go down to, it says total warrant article expenses.
Okay, yeah,
9.7, okay. Then go straight up that column to total operating budget.
that number's not part of that number.
That number is not part. Okay,
You'll see down at the very bottom, budget.
okay, so we have 400,
But there's 0 for the ambulance, 0 for the maintenance expendable trust. So some of them aren't carried through.
right,
So,
Where you'll find the ambulance, for example, is if you go back, I need to say,
okay.
okay, go to the top of page 8.
Page 8, okay.
has this always been put in the budget, or?
Okay,
Not like this.
yeah, there's the ambulance contract. Yeah, that was not always, it is a separate warrant article,
It's
But-
still a separate warrant article.
but it's in the budget and it adds, $100,000 and change.
It doesn't add anything to the budget. The
Well,
budget you vote on, the Article 2.
No,
the
no.
numbers that people look at, Jim.
Yeah.
like that adds to like what looks like a huge jump in the budget,
No,
just because it's categorized different.
Okay, the number I was trying to get to was, last year, if I recall, what we have in Article 2 is the default budget, right, of 2.7 million. The budget that we have been dancing around was 2.9 million, according to the warrant article that's written currently, number 2. Am I correct?
I don't think so. I don't think where you're gonna go to is correct, okay? If you look at, this is the accounting system. Article 2
Yep.
is not everything in the first part. It's just the way the accounting system is laid out. Article 2 is not everything that's in the front part here. All right, everything in the front part is Article 2 and then some. So, if you look at this particular printout from the accounting system, yes, it looks like there's a jump, but then there's a decrease in the other block. But if you go to the 636, you'll see everything that's Article 2. And that's a state form that we turn in. And if you look under public safety, you'll see on page 2 of 9, you'll see the ambulance is 0.
Right.
Then you come back to further on, you have individual warrant articles. Let me find them here. Okay, they're on page 6 of 9.
All right.
And those, you'll see the account numbers on them.
Right.
Some have 49 and some have,
And some are included in the warrant article, or I'm sorry, some are including in the operating budget and some are not. Am I,
it's not the operating budget article.
Right.
Your budget is the entire.
That's right. This here is holding the number that we have.
right,
Right now, the total is 2,920,769.
right,
And it doesn't include the ambulance. And it doesn't include the 3,000 for, sanitation, which is and health agencies are often in a special, well, they were in a special article to begin with, okay?
Yeah. So,
But but what somebody was doing in the past was taking the 4-9 accounts, which
Yep.
were meant to be capital accounts, and putting all the individual warrant articles down,
okay,
yeah. So without getting into it, I have, I'm
Okay.
finishing up with the auditors right now, and we're going through why this, why that. I'm gonna wind up writing a thesis.
Okay.
Going back 2 or 3
Yeah,
years.
all right.
Okay.
How things changed.
Okay, so here's basically where we're at, if I'm understanding all this correctly, is the default budget is $2.7 million, and our budget summary, as we have progressed through this process, is currently 2.9 million. Okay? So, I think that's
2.7, so we're looking at $250,000.
call it 200,000 to
But in that-
$250,000, somewhere,
in
yeah.
that additional amount is not the ambulance or the
Right,
library or
right,
some
this
other thing.
2.9 doesn't have any of them.
No, if you wanna know what's in the 2.9,
Yep,
okay, take the budget to 626, okay, and go through everything that says Article 2. The article numbers are in here. But what you don't have on the 636 is the individual accounts that make up each grouping. That's
Yep.
over in the front.
yep,
Okay.
all right,
So,
okay. I've got a feel for where we need to go.
Well, because last year's operating budget was 2.8 million.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I'm just-
Almost, we were only $36,000 off from,
we got 37.
yeah.
yeah.
That's
And-
not much.
No.
And given you're providing a 3% COLA, pretty much across the board with the salaries or wages, as case may be, that, there it is, right there.
you've got a huge jump in things like salt,
Yep,
fuel. Salt are a big jump.
so we're
I
actually,
almost feel like something's been missed. In this.
Well, in order to try to not miss something, okay? That's what the accounting system, that's where I started. I started with the accounting system. And then, once I had a number for every account, I built the state system, the system we have to use to go to town meeting, which is the state of Bruce's. And the warrant is essentially last year's warrant, with just different numbers put in there.
Yeah.
mhm,
There's a couple of other items in there, but they really don't have any money.
mhm. Okay,
37,000. Boy, that, the year before was a $372,000 increase.
Yeah.
Well, let me give you an example of how things play out, and why one has to be able to explain to the public, which is almost impossible, how some of this stuff works. I got a list from the auditors of various accounts and questions. This is for the 2020 audit. And they want to know why in 2020 we expended $400 and some thousand more through taxation, or we raised in taxation than the prior year. That's a good question, okay? If you take the tax rate settings and you lay them side by side, it doesn't take a genius to figure this out. What happened was, there's like 80 or 90 or $100,000 less than projected revenue. Well, that will do it when you set the tax rate. Maybe 30, 40,000 more in veterans' tax credits, you have to put them in there. And by the time you get done with a couple of things, you're there. I mean, but the budget didn't necessarily go up. but there was more money raised by taxation, and that's how they set the tax rate. They didn't project all the revenues.
Okay.
So, I mean,
Do we have a up-to-date revenue sheet, or is what we had before pretty much staying the same? It was a projection.
the revenues I have projected right now, will show up in the 626. The 636, rather, I'm sorry. The 636 has a section for revenues, and the revenues we have projected are $2,077,477.
Which is a little less than
Yep.
last year.
Pretty near half the budget.
Yeah.
These tend to be a little bit conservative. We get a little more aggressive when we set the tax rate because we have a feel for,
Yeah.
you know, nine or 10 months of revenues.
You know, I'm getting the feeling that other than some minor tweaks to the various line items, we're pretty much right where we ought to be.
Here's the thing, what I think, going through each department is, I think it's warranted.
Happy to do it.
And I think that there are areas that can see savings, even though we're coming in close.
Yeah, I have no problems with that.
Yeah.
I mean, and, you know, that's why I'm saying, you know, let's go through this thing. We've got a lot of line items here. Let's start looking at it and
How do you
see if we
wanna
can cut it
handle
out.
Sean?
You know, we know where we're at. We just need to, you know, get fine tune it.
The other thing I didn't mention is the valuation of the town becomes critical too, to each taxpayer. Okay? As the valuation rises, it has been rising pretty steadily, and we projected to rise more in the coming year with what's out there. And we're not talking about going out and jacking up somebody's assessment. We're talking about new houses, new things coming on the property tax roll. That also has an impact of spreading out the cost and making it a little more affordable for the existing people that are here.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we'll start right with our budget and
Just-
go line by line.
Yep.
My suggestion was, if you wanted to go line by line, was to stick with the accounting system printout, because otherwise, if you're with the other one, you're looking at a budget for a particular function or department.
Right.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's what we'll go through, like the overall.
Yep.
Just using this page?
Yep.
Yeah.
Start on page one and just work our way down.
My first question or comment comes on 432. I'll just use the last three digits. of
Okay.
numbers. It's the vehicle maintenance. So that was for that car, right? The general
Yep.
use
Mhm.
car. So we took that out.
Yes,
Okay. What are we gonna do with that vehicle?
first, auction it, send it up for the auction.
Okay.
Is that in the works, as Peter?
Yeah, if that's in the works.
Yeah, I think we're skipping over some stuff. I was looking at the town administrator salary there, and I looked at the resumes that we received so far, and to say the least, they were disappointing. we're not attracting the type of people we want. I think we need to kick that up if we're gonna get a competent administrator in here.
I have not looked through the resumes, so I can't vouch whether or not this is,
Most of them
something we
were
should do.
illiterate.
What's that?
Most of them were illiterate.
See,
They couldn't put a sentence together.
Well, in any
I looked
case,
through and didn't necessarily feel that way, like, of the incompetence, but
and what is the position advertised?
It's 65 to 80
I-
right now. And I think we're just not, it's just not competitive to get a quality person. I mean, we can leave it at 78, but I have a feeling we're gonna take the scrapings of the barrel if we hire any of the people that even submitted a resume.
So if this
But
is,
you may have one or two in there that they
That-
could be trained to do the job and could make that.
Who would become competent in about 2 years.
Yes.
Yeah,
well,
I can
Maybe.
see two of them.
maybe.
yeah, at least a couple, and I don't know, about 2 years, I think there's at least one that could come up to speed pretty quick on it.
Nope.
but I think we should just stick to the number.
Okay, that's fine.
I agree.
Let's go.
And this line 111, is this a reflection of the new part-time
Yes.
positions?
Yeah.
Yep. And did line 130 get broken out like we suggested? You know,
That's just in bookkeeping.
in
That's not
bookkeeping.
on our budgets.
No, I know. It doesn't change the budget. I'm just double checking to make sure it got broken out properly.
I do have one question on health insurance. I thought the policy that we signed up for was gonna give us a little bit of a savings, but as I went through the budget, it seems like every department except for highway went up in the health insurance department.
It's because you got more people on it.
In the highway, you have less.
The highway, you have the same.
And that one
Essentially,
shows
Yeah.
a little bit of
What,
savings.
what you do have is a savings over, if you had stayed with the existing system and the existing plan, you have a savings. There's no way to show that in here.
And it was pretty minor.
Okay,
as far as what
the other thing we did with the health, on all these budgets, health insurance, is we only budgeted the town's 85%.
Hmm,
In the past, they were budgeting 100%.
Okay.
yeah.
Which makes it, that makes it even more drastic when you have a fixed number of people,
Mhm.
because suddenly 15% of the health insurance isn't being budgeted in our budget because the employee was paying for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a problem. You know, we could clip a few $100s off of, you know, a number of these smaller line items, but I don't think it's worth the effort.
So my next question comes on line 530,
530, okay.
where,
Line 530,
yeah, the communications. So we've had, 2020 was 7,400, 2021 was 7,500, we actually expended $8,007, and we're not budgeting anything for 2022.
that's probably an error.
Okay.
Telephone, internet, so, okay.
What do you want to say?
Probably should be
Want to say 8,500 in there?
I put
Mhm.
8,500 in.
Good catch. Thought we'd done something miraculous.
My pen will write.
Okay. So that's line 530, kick it up to 8,500.
And then the total goes up that amount?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah. And then, 560. 60. It seems like year after year, we've been under budgeting for dues and fees.
I don't remember what those entail. I mean, what are we paying dues and fees for? Is that for the administrator?
It must be.
Well, joining different organizations and things like that.
Well, even if we don't come up to, you know, it looks like we're at about $800 this year. If we put that at 500,
Yeah, but did you read the notes that was uncovered? Jim says late fees for the credit card were being placed here. We need to fix the problem, not pay the fees, so that might be why
Yes,
the, numbers were
Skewed.
under. It could, if them were taken out of there, who knows what that would be.
the 250 represents different associations and groupings, but yeah, now that I think back on it, that's what I found. I found that when I went in and looked at the account, there were credit card late fees that were being placed there.
okay,
We don't want them there.
nope.
We don't want them. We shouldn't have late fees.
Yeah, there shouldn't be a line for credit card late fees.
So leave it at 250?
Yeah, we'll leave it.
Yeah.
Okay.
We just manage it. You know, I think it's one of these things that we put it where it belongs and we manage it better and the other stuff, the garbage that got in there probably belongs somewhere else.
And
The next one down is,
610.
you know, meals and lodging.
Mm.
This is the worst budget I had to deal with. I really was. I was trying to find where some of this is, because it's like it's a rather eclectic accumulation of all these different things. You know, travel, miles, meals, lodging.
It doesn't even look like we use it.
Should we put a placeholder on it?
I don't know. Maybe put it
Yeah,
to
well, one of the
$100
things-
and leave it alone.
One of the things that you could find in it is that, you know, there is a government accounting seminar that's usually 2 days, it's held. up
Yeah, I
in
mean-
North Conway that you might have the treasurer go to or might have the town administrator go to.
Yeah, I mean, Scott
things like
was
that. Those things
attending
exist,
those things, yeah.
but unlike the tax collector and town clerk, they're not required to be funded by statute.
Yeah. I think, well,
We're gonna just bust it down to $1.
no, you gotta leave something for administrator training and stuff, because,
But the
Well,
other,
that's a different,
well,
is that a different one?
should be.
Well, this
There's
is,
consulting
this
services.
is your mileage is in here too, I think.
I think the consulting services would be used for.
Yep.
all right, that's fine. So break it down to $1 and
The thing
see
is
what it looks
if
like.
there turned out to be an actual need, then it just shows that we under budgeted, is that correct?
Yeah, well, we have to move funds around.
Okay, so what are you gonna do?
Put it to $1.
Put it to $1, that's
Okay,
fine.
The $350 goes to $1.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cause we have 8,500 to make up here.
Okay. Okay. But we're still left $8,499. Okay. So,
That's wrong, right?
Yeah.
okay.
And line 610 is being corrected.
Yeah, 610 that is where if I need to pay the credit card, I pay the credit card out of that line, even if I don't have all the documentation. I have the credit card statement, okay?
Mhm.
And then I leave it there until I get the paperwork so I know where to put it. This is insane.
Yeah, so that's the clearinghouse line for the
Yes.
credit card.
But that appears to only have happened this year.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. Maybe a little bit, I think what happens when I spoke to Roger about it, he says, well, the auditors will give me adjusting journals. that may be why the prior year is down.
Because it was corrected, yeah.
It may have been, I don't know. I know there were other adjusting entries from the prior year, from 2019, that were not done in 2020.
All right.
So at the top of the next page is your total.
Now, what's,
Now, the thing in there that you have an item in here, 4131,999 are buyouts.
what is that? 'Cause I don't see it on the explanation page.
That came from a meeting.
Okay,
Oh, yeah, I remember what it was.
It's time off buyouts.
Yeah,
Okay?
yeah,
And we came up with $9,600.
That was
the first
with
guy.
the employee,
That had to do with
Right.
the employee handbook.
now we put that on hold.
You have that on hold.
but we still need to consider budgeting for it because we will be addressing that handbook at some point, hopefully in the near future, and we still need to leave a line item in there.
That would be a line that, bring
And,
this thing back
and
down.
if we are truly listening to the employees, that number is going to increase considerably.
Mm-mm.
well, yeah, 'cause they like that bank system, which isn't budgeted for, or wasn't budgeted for before.
Yeah,
It was just kinda left out there. If somebody used it, I think that they shifted money around in the department budgets to cover it.
Oh, so no matter which way we finalize the handbook, that item was not addressed ever in the past.
this is a brand-new item.
Mhm.
And it was just used by shifting hours.
Yeah, that's how it was done in the past. Now,
Is that a,
we're making it a part of the handbook, and we have to consider,
so rather than budget for more, what if we budget for less and see what the actual is?
well, this was a calculation, if you will, that people, based on what the handbook currently said, that we agreed to, this is what we thought they might take advantage of, something around $10,000. If we either bank PTO time, bank vacation time, bank sick time, or even bank holidays, we have to find some means of funding that. And this number, if we, depending on how that handbook is rewritten, this number may be very low. Or we come up with another methodology for creating almost a savings account where people have time, we calculate what their time is worth, and we put it into some sort of a little fund, and then when they take it or use it in some way, or cash it out, we pay them out of that fund.
So currently, Jim, I don't know if you would know the question, Roger would know. We're at the end of the year and an employee has his full 150 hours, but he didn't use all his sick time, so he's got however many days. And Roger showed me on his spreadsheets, he plugs it in and basically pays back, what was it, 2 hours?
We pay back right now
For every
2
day.
hours of pay for every 8 hours.
And it's taking place right now.
So that's taking place. So
And-
basically, they're getting 1/4
Yeah,
of, up
Anything
to a
above.
certain point, okay? And
So my question is that now being factored in to salaries?
no.
but it's being absorbed in
It's
the
being
salary
absorbed,
line,
it's
it's
being
not
absorbed.
being absorbed through,
Right,
postage.
no.
No.
So that, I don't know if you see my point, that it's not like it's been shifted around, it's been kind of where it's supposed to be, in the salary line, and if we look at how the salaries have been budgeted for, and then how reality happened, it doesn't look like it's been a terrible problem.
It hasn't been a problem.
The 9,600 more comes from the vacation time
Right.
banking, because you could potentially have someone working a week and being paid out a week vacation.
If the changes take place.
If
Yeah.
changes take place. And, you know, basically what I heard was that they're feeling somewhat ripped off by a 4-to-1 ratio, if you will. Being paid 25% of what that PTO is worth.
So I'm good
Well-
with leaving it so that we have something budgeted
Well,
for that.
what I've heard is put the whole thing back to how it was, don't touch it this year. And if that was the case, our budget would go down $9,600. And the employees would be happy. So I don't know,
Yeah.
that is another meeting that is definitely on the high
All right.
priority list.
I want it left in there. And I think we
Sean does as
need,
well.
and I think we need to leave it in there, and we need to compensate people for appropriately.
Yeah, I think it's warranted to leave it in there for right now, and, you know, since we started giving back the change, so to speak, you know, it's a small change item, but definitely something that we can come back to and,
Yeah.
you know, look at
I was-
next year.
I mean, right now, if we don't change the handbook and go with your suggestion, Jason, this money just goes right back into the general funds. Never gets paid out.
So we can come back to that though. So, in the interest of moving past that item, going on to elections.
We have
So what do we
Meredith
have
with
for a
us.
total
Were
here
we
then?
gonna jump around to handle particular departments if we had an interested party?
Sure. Were you hanging out for the whole time, or
I'm
did you
hanging
want?
out at least till you get through my budget.
So,
Do we wanna jump to
what
her
was the
budget?
total that we come up with here for this BOS?
I can go real quick. Well, I'm not real quick. It's Saturday morning, so let's take a look here. Okay. So,
Add in 8,500,
okay.
subtract out 349.
3, 4, 7, 7, plus 8,500
Subtract out 349.
minus, whoops, plus $1. Well, what else we
What's the
got here?
349?
Oh,
That was a different, Bert did it a different way.
this was
Huh?
just right here.
I ended up with 349,208.
Oh, okay, right, because it's going to $1. Thank you.
348, 858.
Wait a minute, okay. You put in 8,500 and you took, and you.
Took
oh,
out,
Okay, you took out 349, okay, you're right.
And last year we budgeted 311.
Mhm.
311, so we're adding 30, what we said
I'll
before.
give you new, we'll get done with this, but we'll give you new printouts and everything.
Hmm.
We didn't cut a whole lot, did we?
No, you went up.
Yeah.
well, I mean, you could have taken a look at like heat and electricity, you know, there's a couple $1,000s there. And maybe knocked a little bit out of background checks and so forth. But
So when the budget comes in default, what are we cutting out here? Or do we just wait till that happens?
You wait till that happens and
We'll discuss it today.
you try to balance it against default, but I mean,
But you
yeah.
can't come in lower every year, cause we have like certain staff level with things.
Well, I absolutely
and
understand
increasing a
that.
little bit, so that's the,
I
why it
absolutely understand.
tends to creep up each year.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, it's like everything. I
Yeah.
mean, it's cost of living, that has to happen. The question is, at what rate, at what growth rate? Because going from 300,000 in 2020, well, that was an $11,000 increase. And now we're going to a $30,000 increase. And then we're gonna ask Meredith to level fund.
Sure, which pieces of apparatus you wanna take off the road?
You know, if, and the other thing too is when you start moving this around, if Article 2 is turned down and you go to a default budget, you can still move money around from some of those individual warrant articles when you get into the year. You have the power to do that. They're budgeted items.
yep,
The
And
individual
as long as
warrant
it's not a
articles.
special warrant article, you can move money to or from as needed.
Which one is not a special warrant article?
Library, the ambulance. Of course, that might not be set too well to move money from those two.
You could take, so the people approve to give 40
I
grand to the
would
library?
move, huh?
If they approve 40 grand to the library, and we end up short
Take it
in
right
that
out.
BOS, we can take 10 grand away from the library and say, sorry about that. Is that what you're telling me?
If it's an individual warrant article, because if the library was part of the budget, you'd be balancing everything. Now you get into things that where you have obligations and.
But isn't
I'm
that
not-
what the
I'm not
library?
I'm not suggesting you do it.
No, but you're saying that it's actually legal. I don't think we would
So
ever.
what
do
happens typically though, like after, vote happens, like they'll get their check,
Yeah,
like in full. So that money's gone almost,
right.
like once it's approved by the voters.
Yeah,
But then you're saying you can still use
I wouldn't-
that.
Yeah, you wanna go back, like on them for the money. But if we could, you know, keep moving through the numbers and the budget, and then we have the overall
Appreciate-
discussion after.
I appreciate that, yeah.
Meredith just
Let
left.
me go find her.
Okay. We're gonna move right on to the fire department,
fire department,
Oh,
yeah.
Do it quick before she gets back.
Yeah.
yeah, well,
so we're going up to
PG.
G.
all right,
Which is
while you're on the page, you might as well just acknowledge ambulance. I mean, there's some things you,
yeah, there's
you know,
no choice there.
you really, you can't play with that unless you bring them in and negotiate something.
Yeah.
She's actually on the phone trying to get answers to, I guess, budget stuff.
Okay.
All right.
Trying to get clarification on something.
I mean, this is one of your bigger jumps in budget.
It's about the same as the Board of Selectmen.
Oh, no, way more. Percentage wise, yeah.
Well, percentage wise,
Yeah,
but
but
dollar
overall.
wise.
Oh, okay.
Fire department, fire salaries and stipends appears to have fairly large, have we just not paid that money out? I mean-
Right, because it gets paid in December, it gets paid in December, it actually gets calculated December, paid out in the first check in January,
Oh, all right,
out of this budget,
okay,
because they're only paid twice a year.
all right. Makes sense. So we'd be doubling or effectively doubling that $8,455.
If they added a person or two, it might be even a little more.
Yeah.
It won't go over, but there's other additional things that get paid in that second check, like the warden's duty and stuff like that.
Now, on the health and fitness line, 350,
Yep,
it doesn't look like any money's been used, like, towards that.
the bill then hasn't been paid,
Okay,
because we did fit testing and that should be I'm going down to where that is, I think that's 275.
okay.
And I think the actual thing is we haven't gotten the bill yet, 270 is what it was. So that bill comes from the state.
Okay.
And the big budget buster on this one was the vehicle equipment,
Mm-hmm.
which I have some notes and they provided all the information here. What they were looking to get.
Yeah, there was quite a few items there. And I think we agreed that, the department needed them.
Did you say there was some of these items that could be put on a separate warrant like you've done in the past? For these,
Are you asking me or Jim?
yeah, I'm asking you, I'm sorry.
In theory, we could put the front section or whatever onto a warrant.
The front section, and that was the,
That's the
that was the
$10,000 one.
10,000.
The-
Okay,
The thing
yeah.
that I was trying to avoid was, here comes the fire department again, wanting another warrant article for another amount of money, and we keep giving the fire department, and it's definitely something that's needed. That's $10,000.
And that's the replacement of the pump.
No, that's to prevent a replacement of the pump. That's to
Okay.
add that valve to the front
Okay,
section.
okay,
Because
okay.
right now that pump is drawing that air from that front section, because it didn't put it in when the front section was put in. So, because there's no shut-off valve on that front suction, if that front suction goes down, we lose all the pumping capabilities for that truck. So we're trying to prevent that from happening. And if it goes down on a fire, of course, we lose all water, which is a safety risk, but it's more,
So it's a capital item. It's an improvement to the truck. You're not replacing something that's broken. It's a capital item. You're adding something to the truck.
I suppose that's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is they didn't do it, so we're trying to, I don't know. They didn't do it, so it's a fault in the truck that we're trying to correct.
So would that be able to come out of one of the reserve accounts, or?
I would like that idea.
It probably could come out of, there is a fire department capital reserve account for vehicles, right?
Replacement.
That's
Yeah,
replacement of
maybe not.
vehicles, not maintenance
Yeah.
or,
If
I mean,
start-
you,
If you start yanking from that for maintenance, I think you're gonna get yourselves in trouble down
Yeah.
the road when we have to do replacements.
This would be very easy to put it over as a capital warrant article raised by tax return. It's very easy, which you've had before. You've had articles before.
Yeah, I was trying to prevent putting in articles again this year, cause
You're
here
trying
comes
to
the
save
fire
it.
department.
She was trying to save paper.
Yeah, just-
it's just
No, I'm
the voters'
trying to
tolerance.
present the
No.
fact that we
Yeah.
understand that the taxpayers have a tight year and everything else is going up, so I hate giving the impression that the fire department is always coming looking for something else. Which is
Yeah.
why we're not putting in the capital, the warrant article for radios as well.
the bottom line is you pay for it one way or you pay for it the other way. You know, the tax rate's gonna be the same either way.
Which is the better way to ask the voters to support it? Buried in here, where they're gonna see the fire department going up, they'll see that.
Yep.
Or have the fire department a little closer and have this thing sitting out where it is and something that could be explained. I mean, it's, whatever you want, I can make it work.
We already have a lot of warrant articles out there.
So what does the fire protection equipment capital reserve fund get used for?
The fire protection equipment,
Yeah,
that gets used for gear.
for gear. So could these radios be drawn out of that? This,
It would
15.
depend on, so you're talking radios now, you're not talking?
yeah, I'm moving
equipment?
down the line. I don't know what this down to on fire communication. But-
I don't think the warrant article is written that way. It's protection, it's a protection equipment and gear. So it would be SCBA's, which we put in a warrant article for last year or 2 years ago. It would be gear, and that's it. And then even the hoods that we put in here this year, average firefighter cost of gear right now is $2,000+ dollars. So, and then average gear cost right now for SCBA replacement is, right now it's $9,000, it's only gonna go up. So we're trying to build that. We put the amount that we have in there, the $20,000 every year, to start building that so that when we need air packs again, we have the money there and we don't have to go to the voters again for, hey, by the way, we need another $140,000 or $200,000. So we're trying to be kind of fiscally responsible. So that's why I think the capital reserve accounts are there for those big ticket items rather than trying to nickel and dime things in order to cut the budget down.
Yeah, and really warrant articles are for the same reason, for the big ticket items.
Right. And I consider big ticket items 50, 60, 70.
Yeah, replacement of a vehicle.
Yeah. Replacement of a vehicle, replacement of SCBA packs. The radio one that you're looking at, I think, is that $9,000.
Meredith, if you had to project for next year, not this budget, but, 2023, are we still gonna be looking at a bunch of big ticket items down the road? Or do we have more repairs in mind that are gonna be needed?
The only repairs that we will have, this year we've got, the reason it looks bad this year for vehicle maintenance is because we're getting hit with that tire thing as well. That $6,000 tire. So you got your $10,000 for the pump suction, and then you got your $6,000. We're done with replacing tires after this year until we hit, I think they've all now been replaced under me, which then gives us 10 years. So we're talking 4 or 5 more years before we'll have to replace them again. Once that front suction is done, that prevents any catastrophic issues with that pump on engine 1. So that line item should come back down to a normal range, which would be, under $20,000. Because then we're just looking at general maintenance. The other thing I did put in was asking one of my officers, the maintenance guy, can we potentially postpone the replacement of the lights on engine 4, which would drop that line item by $1,800, and then can we maybe do 2 rear axles, and I haven't gotten an answer from him yet. I'd rather drop and wait the following year and replace the lights as opposed to giving up either the front suction or the tires, because the tires were at the DOT guideline deadline. And the front suction, at some point, that front suction is gonna go. And we're gonna be in catastrophic problems. So I would rather say, okay, can we let's take out the replacement of the lights on engine 4, because we could probably wait a year and what I'm trying to find out is how critical the rear axle issue is. Because we're looking to do the transmissions and rear axles on all 4 of the pieces except for engine 1. Can we do 2 next year, or 2 this coming year and 2 the following year? Again, then I can drop that line item down by another, I mean, we're talking $3,000, I can drop that line item down. I would rather do that than take out the suction, and I think we're kind of struck right now with the tires. That's a decision you guys would have to make, because the NFPA standard is 7 years, the DOT guidelines is 10. We're at 10 years on engine 4.
And I think we agreed that the 10 years was the appropriate time frame.
Yeah, and the thing that stinks about that is, we know, we have virtually, if they were on my vehicle, I'd still be running them, but under the guidelines,
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you talk about default budgets, you could sit down and go over stuff. That's the kind of stuff you cut out. Tires are tires. Okay, so, you know, there are some things, and not that you are.
yeah, that gives me wiggle room in the default budget.
Yeah.
So unless you want to pull those line items out as a separate warrant article, I think we need to leave it as is.
Now, the 4 new radios, I have a note says, as a match, 5% for grant.
So what we did was we applied for assistance to firefighter grant,
Yeah.
and we just closed it out. Jim and I closed it out and filed it officially on Thursday. We're looking to replace, under that grant, we're looking to replace all of our radios, mobile radios, portable radios.
Which is how many?
Base station, so 25 radios that are portables, 6 that are mobiles, 1 base station. That's in the grant.
But you need to purchase 4 on your
So
own.
here's what we did, was we put in the price of 4 radios into the budget.
Mhm.
And we will wait, once the budget's passed, we will wait to see if we get that grant. If we get that grant, the grant has a 5% matching on it. That 4 radio amount of money would then go to that match for the grant. So
Would it
if we
fully
get the
cover
grant,
it?
go ahead, I'm sorry.
Would it fully cover the match?
Yeah, it's 5%.
And so that's,
So if we get the grant, that money that's in the budget will cover the matching. If we don't get the grant, we need to start replacing these radios, because they are now up to where FCC, they don't meet FCC requirements, so even sending them out for repair, they send them back.
So if you don't get the grant, you'll be back next year to start replacing radios.
So if we don't get the grant, then we're gonna start, this coming year, 2022, is our first year to start replacing radios. Again, rather than going to the voters and saying, we now need $190,000 for radios, we're trying to do it fiscally responsible and say, okay, let's do 4 now, 4 now, 4 now, and then,
It's still gonna be a considerable chunk of money.
yeah, but we're trying to do it just a little,
10
we're
grand
hoping for the
before.
grant, we really are. But we were hoping for the grant under SCBA's too, and then we didn't get it, so. So we can't just sit and wait, and yet again, I don't wanna say to the taxpayers, give me more, give me more. That's why we're not gonna put a warrant article in for the radios this year. So to take that 6,000, or, I'm sorry, I can't remember what it is. To take that amount out, that $9,000 out of that communications line, if we get the grant, we don't have the 5% matching. And if we don't get the grant, we have 30 radios right now, only 23 are operable. So as they keep, they're old, they were bought in 2002, right under with the interoperability. And again, looking back, there's a lot of things we should have done years and years ago to start building accounts that says, or start replacing so that people aren't getting hit all at once.
Mhm. And the radios wouldn't be able to fit in any of your, like, the equipment, capital improvements? Like the reserve account?
No,
No.
no, the PPE one is worded PP and SCBA, and so it's firefighter protective equipment is what it's written as.
Then there's fire department capital reserve fund.
That fire department capital reserve is vehicles. And that we're building up, hopefully, when it comes due for the rescue, we'll just be replacing, we won't be replacing the whole vehicle, we hope, as long as it's cheaper just to do the chassis. But we're 8 years out from that right now. So we're trying to build that account back up. Because we did spend out of that account for engine one.
Mhm.
So percentage wise, right now, we're looking at a 25% increase.
Yep.
Yep. And I know it's high.
It just depends how far down the road we wanna keep kicking the can. We've
Yeah.
been deferring and deferring and deferring.
Well, and that's part of the reason it's high now, because we've kicked the can down the road so many years in a row. And unfortunately, the two big ticket maintenance issues are coming in the same year. Do you have an, no, I'm gonna wait. I'll ask my question after.
As a newbie at this, do percentages come into play? Is it something we should really be taking serious? I'm asking you two who have served and gone through this process before.
The overall percentage seems to, you know, like each individual thing doesn't get looked at as closely.
Unless someone has their,
Yeah, but
They
then
might not,
that's where the
yeah.
rationale, like, you know, explaining it, is important. So that's, you know, where the fire department and all of our firefighters, it's key for them to get out and speak, you know, like about the budget and why it's, you know, going up by 25%, and not remaining quiet and just, you know, relying on this board to get that information out, cause there's only 3 people here.
And
You
I
know,
think,
you have 20 plus on your fire department, you know, to, you know, let the public know, like in all their contacts, how important it is, and then on top of that, how important it is to get out and get to the polls.
Yep.
In support.
and because Emery's here, I think the article that she just wrote is our start, and I can't take credit for it, but it's our start at trying to get that information out on why our budget went up this year,
Mhm.
as opposed to warrant articles, and why we're concerned about the taxpayers and things like that. So, you know, we've got Facebook pages that will do stuff and things like that, but
Yep. I appreciate that.
the front suction, well, that was $10,000, and if that thing failed on you, full replacement would cost.
if that, depending on when that fails, if that failed, when the pump's in gear, it could blow the pump.
Yep.
And then you're looking at $40,000 repair to
If-
rebuild the pump, potentially.
Yep.
If it failed on a fire and we lost water, and I'm not gonna play horror show like a lot of things are going on these
Right,
days,
well,
but you're talking about, you know, the potential of a loss of building or loss of life. It should have been done when the truck was done, but it wasn't, so
Mhm.
we're trying to make it right. We're hoping that truck, we're planning on that truck lasting 25 to 30 years.
Sounds like it's a relatively new truck.
It is, we just got it, it's a 2017, we got it in 2018.
And that's not under a warranty? Like if there's a piece missing out of it, isn't there something, whoever we bought it from should be stepping up, or?
When we bought the truck, we bought a spec truck. It was built to specs. We needed the front suction on it because of some of our access to our water sources. So we spec'd it with the company in Connecticut to put that front suction on. In that spec stuff with the committee that put the truck together, and this was before me, they did not specify to put that valve on there, so it was not put on. So it was a combination of assumptions, misunderstandings,
And oversight.
and oversight, yeah.
And just a question as well, right now, so even with all the salaries and stipends being paid out, like factored in,
Mm-hmm.
it looks like you'd have around $17,000 left in your budget for this year. Is
And
there
it's
any,
bills that haven't been paid yet. So it's the inspections on the trucks, the bills are still sitting, we just got our, because all of this comes in at the end of the year.
yeah,
Our pump maintenance bills have just come in, let me see, I can tell you what else just came in. The hydrant testing bill just came in. The inspections are the bills are just coming in. That fluid film the bill is just coming in now. So we're figuring we're right around, we probably have $3,000 at the moment, and we're still looking at our last couple months of both internet and electrical and fuel. We haven't gotten the final numbers on those for November and December.
okay, so you're gonna be pretty close.
And we're watching the propane.
How is the heating system?
And we're still trying to tweak it.
Yeah,
It's like a Band-Aid on a tourniquet.
oh jeez,
They were there yesterday trying to tweak it to see if they can figure out why we're using so much propane and not
Yeah,
completely heating the building.
well, I suggest we accept the budget as it is,
You were
and
using a lot of oil too.
I know.
That's it. So
yeah,
we're using a lot of propane? We're
Because we're
sucking
heating
up oil, like we needed a well out there too, okay? So there's some of the units you have though, that are
We're heating the
tied to-
trees.
Some of the units that you have out in the bays and stuff, or out in the building, that are fed by the furnace, aren't all working properly.
One is not working on the main floor, and one on the second floor is not working at all.
So it doesn't help to have a couple of, in other words, you got you got a fire going in a box, doesn't matter what's fueling it, okay?
mhm,
If what's feeding it isn't right, that's gotta be fixed, and that's their process of getting that.
I think it's more
And they're
that
out
the
taking
building
a look
just
at-
has no insulation factor and we're just heating trees.
Well, yeah, that's part of it too. But, I mean, the thing was heating fuel before. It's gonna eat fuel again, it's just that this furnace is more efficient, it's gonna deliver more heat to the
And the
water
reason-
pipe.
The reason we're noticing it is because we could only put a 500-gallon propane tank in there. So every time we turn around, it's like, oh, well, we're almost gonna fill this again. We're probably gonna fill that once a month through the winter or more.
okay,
But they did regulate it yesterday, so they're gonna cap it at, so it'll only heat the furnace going up to, once it hits 65. So they were gonna put it down to 62, but I'm not sure that it's accurate. They said it's accurate, but it's pretty cold in there when you have it down to 62.
okay,
So it's at so anyway, they're making little tweaks. They were there
Alright.
yesterday. They set the fire alarm off. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it's good that they're out there looking at it, trying to make it better.
I do have a question. Historically, has the fire department ever not spent the whole budget? We don't have the totals for this year.
I can give you the last 3 years, we were over in 2000 and, whoops, sorry, went to the wrong one. We were over in 2018 or 19.
You went over the budget?
Yeah, we had.
Well, I'm asking about the other way. If you've ever come in
Well,
under what was,
2020, they were under by 800
They
bucks.
were under, not by a lot.
No, $800.
right, yeah, I'm looking,
That's negligible.
cause it seems like you start to get the feeling that no matter what you give, it'll always disappear. Where, like, the Board of Selectmen, that varies a lot, the PD has varied a lot.
And I can tell you the reason for that, because last year and the year before, when I came to the selectmen, they said, you've got this, you haven't spent it on something. So, 1 year, 2 years ago, I needed 4 AEDs, defibs for CPR. And they said, buy 2 out of you got money left over, buy 2 out of this. So they were telling us to spend it now because you've already budgeted. So if I'm told that, I'm not gonna give you back $2,000 because I'm gonna try and spend it now so I can take it out of next year's budget.
I remember that conversation, and you indicated you had a need. We didn't have enough to buy all 4, but we did have enough to buy 2, and said, okay, we'll defer buying the other 2 till a later date.
Actually, it was buy 2 now because you've got money
Right,
left in your
yeah.
budget.
But, yeah, I recall that conversation.
Decrease the request for the,
So then
The
it
next
decreased,
year.
so then they took the 2 AEDs out of the following year. So, yeah, it looks like we never give any money back because we were told not to
Yeah,
give any money back.
it's kind of like there's always unfunded or unexpected needs, and at the end of the year, yeah, you have extra money left in the budget, but you also have things you requested at the beginning of the budget cycle that were not directly funded, and now they come back and the department heads come back and say, okay, I've got this little bit of extra money here in my budget, and I'd like to buy these items. Will you let me do it? And it seems like a reasonable thing to do, to say, we've got the money now, okay, we can buy these, so many items, and then next year we'll look at buying the rest of the items you need. So that's why they spend right to the limit of the budget.
And it's not like, hey, we got an extra $1,000, let's go buy new uniforms for everybody. It's, hey, we got an extra $1,000, let's buy the extra AED or something like that. So it's always, there are nice to haves, and I know my budget is higher than than last year. But we took a lot of stuff out of it, because I'll sit with my guys and say, yeah, this is nice to have, yeah, this is the greatest technology, but we're not going there. We can't, we're nice to have and need to have are 2 different things. So we tried to cut this down to needs and not just, yeah, hey, we really like to have the latest and greatest of things, because we just know we're not in the position of taxpayers that we feel that we can do that.
yeah.
I mean, if the bottom line is you say we have to take X amount out of our money, then I think Mike might agree as well, to throw him under the bus. I would rather have the opportunity to say, look, you need to cut $3,000 out of your budget, and I'll say, okay, I can take some from here, as opposed to, let's axe $10,000, or let's axe the tires, or let's get rid of this particular item. Because as department heads, you have hired us because that's our expertise. So let us say, okay, that $10,000 for the suction is extremely important for the longevity of that truck. Is there something else where I can take 1,000 here or 500 here and bring that budget down, as opposed to, do you see what I'm saying?
I'm all ears now.
Yeah, but I'm saying, what do you want? what do you want me to cut?
What do we want, well, like you said.
I know, you want me to cut it down to level
Well, no.
funding.
Well, no, that
And
was
that's
said,
why-
that was said kind of in jest, because I understand that things
I'm
cost
trying
more
to
as
keep doing
time
it
goes
without
on.
kicking the can down the road, so that's why I was texting one of my lieutenants.
Yeah.
Can we, if you look at the maintenance on the trucks, can we put the replacement lights for engine 4 off a year? I would rather have the capability as the department head to be able to, if you say, cut $10,000 out of your budget,
Mhm.
we're gonna axe your front suction, I'm gonna say, can you give me the latitude as the department head to take $10,000, and $10,000 is too much, I can't take 10,000. But take X amount out of your budget, and then we trust you that you'll make those decisions in the right place.
I would be all for that kind of
Makes your life
mentality,
easier.
wouldn't you? Or do you wanna make the decision for the fire department, which,
I mean, I'm more than
Piece of
happy to sit here
equipment.
and justify every nickel and dime, but.
Yeah, I'm not into counting paper clips here.
yeah.
And that's basically what we'd be doing. I'm fairly content that Meredith has justified her budget here. And I would like to point out that the residents will have 2 more shots, or 3 more shots, I should say, at making changes to this budget. One, we have to have a public hearing for this, where the residents can come in and make their comments. We'll have a deliberative session where they can also make comments, and then they can vote on it, finally at the ballot box. So, it's not like we're doing this, in a closet. They're gonna have plenty of opportunities to say, okay, we want you to cut this particular line item, if somebody has a good and substantial reason.
And Meredith, you have experienced the voters for a long time. This is my first time being on this side of the table. So I would just personally, if you think that there's ways to come in with a lower increase, but I'll leave it to your experience with the voters.
And then to those meetings that Bert had spoken about for the public hearing and then the deliberative session, I know that you're here for the deliberative session typically, but for that first public hearing, if you could, make sure that you're available as well. And we're gonna ask the same for all the department heads, so that if there's questions, it's best to hear it from the department head than it is coming from the select board, because we're not gonna adequately respond to it.
And as soon as you get dates for those, it'd be good if you could get them out so that we can put them in our calendars, because they're
Mhm.
usually like
I
either
think
at
we do have
night
a date
or.
for the first public hearing, wasn't it the 12th of, I don't remember, 12th of January, wasn't it, or something? Early January?
January
it's the
11th.
12th.
January
I've got
11th.
the 11th.
January.
January 11th.
Uh-oh. January.
The
11th.
18th was like the last possible day, so we wanted to have the 11th just in case there's like some
Coming
type
back from Florida that day, we'll see.
of, well, maybe one of your lieutenants can come.
And I would just as soon leave it, I mean, if we can leave it, and then, at least in the public hearing, it gives me a little bit of time to say, okay, are there things, I'm willing to figure it out, but are there things that we can cut, but.
Mhm.
Your deliberative section gives the public time to listen to explanations, and if they want to, if they want to amend part of the operating budget, they can do that.
Hmm.
They can do line items.
Oh, yes,
Oh, yeah, they can do it, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
yeah. I
That's
mean,
why it's important for people that are in support of these things to show up, not just the people that are looking to cut.
right, at the hearing, it's their opportunity to express an opinion. We don't have to make changes, but at the deliberative session, they actually vote
Yeah,
and can
whoever,
change anything and everything.
whoever comes to that meeting.
Oh, I've been there.
Yeah. It's the rawest form right there in that meeting. And sadly, the least it's not fully attended by the residents.
Okay.
Sparsely attended.
Yeah.
Okay,
So you guys are of the,
I'm comfortable.
I'm happy with all of
Go
her
forward.
explanations and,
I think it was fully justified.
yeah. Go over to police.
Let's see. Here we are. Page 7.
Now he's leaving too.
It's a theme. We go out, we throw up, and then we come back.
What?
Kidding.
Yes.
I'm
Mr.
coming
Noel.
Can I
back.
say one thing about the fire department?
Yes, sir.
before he leaves?
Oh, yeah, I'm coming back, I'm just gonna.
30 seconds. People next door to me are new in town. They had a chimney fire, and they said that Meredith was there within 5 minutes with the trucks hot on their heels. And we're very impressed by the fire department.
That's excellent to hear.
Nice to know.
Yeah. Thank you.
I don't know.
All right. All right.
You know, not every budget is up significantly.
There was a couple I noticed actually went down.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's,
Hmm.
but they were real small budgets to begin with, so
Well,
it kinda takes away the fun of
A small
it.
budget to one group of people could be big to them because it takes care of all their functions.
Okay. Okay.
Where are we going up to?
I guess my first question on the police budget is the part-time salaries,
Hmm.
because it seems that that's under budgeted each year substantially. And I just wanted to bring attention to it, like if you're happy with, you know, it staying that way.
Yeah, I think that the part-time salaries have been under budgeted as well, or underfunded, I should say, but, we typically were able to usually find ways to cover those expenses out of other line items that are in the police budget. One of the things I did mention was being a little bit more competitive on the part-time salary rate, and, really hadn't made that adjustment
Hmm.
to date.
Okay.
But with that part-time salary that we have now, we saw that, you know, in the justification, I put in trying to, have some hours to cover the administrative assistant's position in her absence.
I mean, we should be budgeting for what we're going to be spending. I mean, I really almost feel like you need to kick that up to about $10,000.
But
And
then
I agree
wherever-
with that.
Wherever that bumper is being used has to be adjusted accordingly, so
Yeah.
it's not just a full.
Well, that's what I was looking at here is, we have a budget of, or a proposed budget of $453,000 for police officer salaries, and I believe that that is based on having all officers available and on duty
Correct.
for the positions. Given the year of 2022, what's the likelihood of that actually happening? I mean,
I think we will be fully staffed, but not for the full year.
okay. Could we drop some money out of that amount? I know, you know, maybe you'll get a windfall of officers, however unlikely it might be, but is there any possibility we could drop that number down to, say, 400,000?
Yeah, I don't think we can do that. If I have a qualified officer walk in the door tomorrow and says he wants to work for us, and then I tell him I can't work for me till April because the budget's not there,
Hmm.
I think it puts us in a position where we can't hire someone. Now, I know that hasn't happened, but it certainly could.
Yeah, no, I'm saying
Right.
it's a possibility, absolutely. I'm just thinking about probabilities more than possibilities.
Right.
I think what Bert is proposing, be like 53,000. If I look at 2020, there was 395,000 and change on actual payout of salary. And he's saying that almost, basically you're saying level fund it from 2020. Now, I don't know how many officers we're on.
Well, we only have 4 or 5 officers right now. I mean, the odds of getting that 6th officer on duty is pretty slim, you know, truthfully.
Well, it's not gonna happen for the full year, we already know
Exactly.
that. There might be some.
And you were talking about reducing that bump for increasing the part-time. That's the most obvious place to take the money out of.
Where I agree with both of you, this is one of the departments that came to mind, like in formulating that thought of giving back the change every year. Because we have to budget for the potential, like, cause we want to get it up to that full staff level.
We do? Yep.
And like last, we returned $200,000 back to the voters, just this past tax cycle. And 30,000 of that came from the police department, from their 2020, budgeting. It looks like this year we're gonna have potentially more to give back, so like next, fall, winter, we could be giving back a more substantial amount of money, to the taxpayers.
Establishing that, and since you bring that up, I think we need to formalize that. Remember when we did this? What is it called? Fund balance.
Yeah,
We never formally adopted a policy on it.
no.
But
I
if
don't-
we
I don't
did,
think
we
you can.
would be-
You cannot, because it changes each and every year as you get a new board of selectmen.
It's probably something for
Well, we can
another
set
meeting,
forth,
but
you know,
there
'cause
is,
right now, Jason's gonna extend another couple cycles to try to, push that down the line. Hopefully you'll be reelected if,
but I think what you're saying, Sean, I agree to a large degree of it,
Yeah.
is these are projections with the potential for the police department. And a lot of that money comes from both the salaries and from like our health insurance. It jumps way up, but you have to assume whoever's gonna be hired, we offer health insurance, so what do you budget for what the maximum we offer, right? And so these are the kinds of things, and especially with the police, that retirement just kicks the numbers even more.
Yeah,
If I could just interject, the budgeted amount of health insurance went down.
Yeah, I got new figures for today, so.
Okay,
It's gonna be
Yeah, so
way,
this
it's
is
gonna
the
be,
department we're on
we're
down.
dropping 25% in our health insurance.
okay, so,
So I have the paper, I can hand it up right now.
okay,
Oh, really?
but I'm just looking at what you've got already. Okay, now, what was the 2021 actual is low, it represents a depleted police department.
Yep.
Okay, so you can't, that number doesn't make a lot of sense, because if you go back to 2020 actual, you're almost 53,000.
And you really have to look at 2020, because 2021 was just such a
Right,
odd
but
year.
from budgeting 2021 to budgeting 2022, before he hands out his paper, it still came down. That has to do with budgeting the 85%, not the 100% of the cost.
yeah,
That's where that's
So if you have
showing.
different numbers,
Yeah, so, I did what I did find out is, up until recently, a week ago, one of our officers was going to take the insurance, we didn't last year. And then he finally came to me and said, hey, I need the paperwork, we've met the deadline. He goes, no, I'm not gonna take it, my parents are gonna cover me one more year. So that drops $9,000 out of our budget that I had proposed, and this is the new number, and which essentially makes my entire budget go up by 2%,
Okay.
the entire budget. You guys wanna split that one? Sorry,
Thank
just want another copy.
Let me just write it down.
You did it.
No,
No,
they-
save this paper, that's fine.
Yeah. Also, what Mr. Coffey had pointed out, I think it was a month ago, that, and something I actually did, is I put the 100% in the spreadsheet, and then I realized, like he said, that's not accurate, and I was like, oh, you're correct, and now I put in the actual, employer contribution of 85%, which is $64,498, which drops that line item down by about, let me see what my spreadsheet says here. 26.1% decrease in health insurance.
Well, it basically takes, takes 20,000 plus off your,
22,727.
yeah. So that drops that by quite a bit.
You got any more of those?
It changes.
That's the magic number today.
I think the thing is they come in at the end of the year,
Yeah.
and like you said, what we do with that fund balance, we wanna set that precedent that, hey, we were hoping for this, it didn't happen, and so we didn't spend the money, and so therefore, here you go.
It's being returned. It's not
Here's your
just
money
being
back.
kept.
We
Yeah.
didn't use it.
Historically, we've returned money.
No,
every
not the departments.
Right, I'm just
but-
saying.
But as a select board, it's
Right.
been
Yeah.
kept.
I did really appreciate the, simple, right on the back page of our worksheet where we had increases, percentages, and dollar amounts. Is made it nice to review, cause I didn't have to really, I mean, I did pull out my calculator.
Right.
Just to make sure I'm.
Yeah, if you want to double check the math, sure.
But-
It
But
simplifies.
it was appreciated.
And that retirement line item just hops and hops, huh?
But part of that is, again,
Yeah,
I think in the budget is for a sergeant or a lieutenant.
yep.
which-
I mean,
Yeah.
that's
higher
based
pay.
on the salaries. I mean, everything flows from the salaries pretty much, with the exception of the part-time. And of course, with the part-time, we do have to pay FICA, Medicare, and
Right.
so
But
forth.
no retirement. Yep.
Oh, there is no retirement?
Not for the part-time.
No, not for part-timers.
Those percentages are dictated by the state retirement system.
Correct.
Yeah, we
And
don't,
legislation.
we don't have a whole lot of authority or,
Well, a lot of towns got
capability on that.
upset about some of the increases.
yeah.
And it's state law that we have to be in the system for the way.
Yeah,
So every 2 years, there's a rate adjustment, whether it goes up or down. Historically, it's been going up. But every 2 years, there is a rate adjustment.
yeah. I mean, the only thing I feel uncomfortable is, with, I think everything else has been justified very well, is the availability of you hiring more officers, versus the probability of you hiring more officers. I think we need to increase the part-time to reflect actual part-time costs and decrease the salaries accordingly. Because that's really where the money's probably coming from for your part-timers.
Yeah, like I said, if we reduce those full-time salaries, it's one thing if I have somebody come in that I wanna hire, I need to have that salary to do that.
Yes, you do.
Now, if I have to overpay the part-time line item because there was a shortage in a full-time, or I didn't have a full-time year on the full-time salary line, well, at least I know that I can draw that money from.
Yeah, I know. Manipulating the money and sliding it from one account to another is a really important option for you.
Yeah, it gives some flexibility, and like I said, I can't, I'm a little bit more optimistic. I'm very positive that we're gonna be 6 full staff in 2022, and quite frankly, I think we could do it in the first quarter. But I'm stalling a little bit because I have to have the manpower to train these people.
Yeah.
And so I've had interviews throughout the fall, and I have people kind of stage, if you will. But I also need to be able to train them appropriately. And if I have one guy coming out of the academy who graduated yesterday, congratulations.
Yep.
And he's coming to work Monday, and if I hire 2 in January, then I'm trying to train 3 people at once with 3 employees. It's very challenging.
Yeah, you don't.
But,
we have the capability to do
my
that.
honest opinion is that we will be fully staffed this year.
You really
And
think so?
I'm hoping to do that sooner than later.
I think
That's-
with
that's
the, strides forward that you've taken in this short amount of time, I believe your assessment.
Right.
Right.
And I appreciate that, and, nobody here has a crystal ball, but I'm confident. And, like I said, I'm an optimistic guy, right?
Mm.
I try to be very positive.
Well, let's see.
And I know that, I'll leave it at that. I'm confident that we'll be fully staffed this year.
Yeah.
Well, 2022.
Well, we just dropped the health insurance by $20,000 effectively. What if we put the police part-time salaries up to $10,000 to really reflect what's been happening?
Well, he's been, the police department's been staying within their budget, even with those,
I understand
under
that.
budgetings.
So, yeah, I don't see it. The only thing it does do when you have it under the salaries, it drives up the amount you need to budget for retirement.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one place it reflects, other than anywhere else, would be the retirement line item on the full-time salary. We still have to pay the FICA, and we
Yeah.
eliminate the social security under the full-time line item. So there is a little bit of an increase in that line.
Yeah, but if that budget is not met, right? I mean, we're still keeping track of the full-time officers, what they actually make in a year, and that percentage, what is it, 40-something% of the
30.
retirement?
33.
33%.
33 point something.
That's all we're ever paying. It doesn't matter what was budgeted.
Yeah,
Under
we pay-
retirement, we pay what we pay.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right, all of it's budgeted, so for
So I
example,
don't-
is on the full-time salary, and same thing with the overtime, we budget in having to still pay retirement on the overtime. All that is factored into these numbers.
Yeah,
I think it's 6 to 1, half dozen to the other, Bert, because we always get to see the actual in
Yeah.
the budgeted. And anybody who looks into it can always see that.
Yeah, I
You
just
could
hate
argue
to
that.
see the chief coming in every year and saying, having to justify why he went over on the part-time. And then, another explanation for a new board and so forth.
Well, we'll
rather-
see next year, cause, it's a new chief,
Well, I mean, if
rebuilding
you,
the department.
look at 2020,
And I don't
same
think that
deal.
He would say that he could have it up to, fully staffed in the first quarter if he didn't have, an idea of the candidates that are out there.
Hmm. All right, I mean,
I have one on line 611.
yeah, animal control.
Animal control. What we have in our operating budget, if I see it right, is we have the police department in past handling it for
It's a
$200.
separate budget.
Separate line item somewhere else.
No, I'm saying in the past,
Yeah,
it was being handled for $200, and now in our new budget, we have animal control for $6,000.
I don't know if that's wholly true, the 200.
Well,
I remember it coming across as almost $10,000 worth of expense.
that's incurred by this?
Yeah, I believe that's something the prior chief had.
And we might be getting back to Bert's argument of having each line represent what it represents.
Yeah, so I think what that, back in the day, if I could give some insight
That'd be
on that.
nice. Yeah.
So I think what happened back in the day with the $200 or $300, that was really just the money set aside. If we drop an animal off at the vet, it's not always free, right? They're gonna send us a bill.
Mhm.
And also when it comes to certain types of testing at the state lab, rabies and such, or emergencies, they charge us. The bill comes back to the PD, the town. And so that money was set aside to say, hey, if we have this encounter during the year, which we typically do, we should have some money set aside to pay these bills.
Mhm.
If I drop an injured cat or injured dog off at Wilton Animal Hospital, somebody's getting the bill. And
Now
the right thing
typically
to do
that
is-
does go to the owner of the pet.
A lot of times it's not, nobody claims it.
Oh.
And that doesn't relieve us of the responsibilities of the payment, so that's why I think that $200 or $300 was there and the whole, I don't know whatever else happened to all the, other animal control budget, like, and I know it was reestablished in its own line or own budget 2020,
Mhm.
Yeah.
alright, so prior to all that, I don't really know, but I can tell you what that $200 or $300 is for, and is that's when we drop this. And inevitably it happens.
Yeah, if you look on
Quite frankly,
page,
we've been very fortunate.
look
all
on
these years.
page 12, to
Yeah, if you look at
See.
page 12, you'll see that the
If
20,
I look-
the 2020 budget and the 2021 budget effectively reflect budgets with nobody doing the job.
Correct.
Literally, okay? The budget for 2022 is down just a hair, and it would be an animal control officer, my last recollection was, who would report to the police chief.
Yeah, I mean, basically what you're saying, Mike, is that there's expenses being billed when you drop an animal off, and I assume you pick up or have been picking up a stray animal, say, once a week or once every couple weeks. And the police department has been handling it because we have not had a formal animal control officer, which I believe we now do. But I don't know where Roger has been charging the money to or putting the expenses to that were for the bills. I
We
mean,
don't have a,
it doesn't seem to be
Control officer.
reflected here.
We've been fortunate for many years, if you're familiar with, what's it, Frank and Dee Dee's Bed and Biscuit in Greenville in 24. For many years, she was taking in all of our dogs at large, strays, or cats, completely free. Right, so we got lucky. I mean, she was just at the grace of her own heart. Some of her dogs, to this day, she still has for 2 years, 3 years. Feeds them, takes care of them. She's done it under her own will. Right? We could have been charged for all that stuff.
Yeah, sure.
And more recently, for reasons I can't speak about publicly, that relationship has fallen apart, not due to anything we did, some other outstanding issues, and we can no longer use that facility. And so we're back to more traditional, we need to find housing for stray animals, loose dogs. We're going now to the SPCA in Swan. Every time we pick up a loose dog, we're sending an officer 45 minutes out of town, 10 minutes, 15 minutes in the facility, 45 minutes back, and then they can charge us
Yeah.
for
This is-
animal care.
this is when you can't locate the owner, is that
Correct.
Yeah.
And so, that's, part of having animal control, and if we hire the right person, which we may move forward on, if we have a local facility to bring these dogs to, even let's say the animal control officer is not available at that moment,
Yeah.
and my officer picks up an animal and can go to a place in town and drop that dog off versus Swansea, well, there's a saving for one, and two, if that officer's gone for an hour and a half, nobody's covering the town.
So would it pay to look into finding a kennel?
Yeah,
where
and I
that could
think,
happen locally?
right.
Well, we do have an
Or-
animal control person who's supposed to be handling these calls rather than an officer.
We don't.
Well, he didn't accept the position?
There's never been a,
No, there was, and that's something that meant to touch base back with you on, but yeah, twice it has been voted for this person to be the animal control
You know,
officer.
he happens to
But
be
they have
also
to-
the health officer.
Yes.
They have to submit the applications and then the
And I just didn't know
applications
where
have to-
it was at, like, in the, cause it, right
We
now
did
it sits
talk about
underneath
it.
the police
The chief
department.
and I did,
Okay,
and he's never seen an application, so. However that happened, it happened.
yeah,
But when I look at the budgets and how much is being expended on animal control, granted, we were getting free kenneling.
mm,
I wonder, is this a fiscally sound thing to do, and if the officers have, taken care of it to
Well,
date?
it
I have
should
not-
be at least charged to the proper account. If he's incurring expenses, it shouldn't go to the police budget, it should go into the animal control budget.
But,
correct.
the line item is very specific, police animal control.
Yeah.
So,
But going forward, we are going to start incurring some fees, there's no
Yeah.
doubt about it. With losing that contact that we had, you know, things have changed.
So I guess the question for you is, I believe that Tim had proposed having a separate animal control officer. Do you see the value in having that, or?
I do,
Yeah, I mean,
these types of calls can take a lot of time away from other investigations or officers actually being on patrol. And if you think about, you know, taking care of an animal at large, or an animal that has been struck, or
Yeah.
livestock that's free and roaming the roads, is that really criminal? Right, is that something?
yeah, I mean,
So I guess-
officers are trained to do a specific job. They're not really equipped to handle animals, either large or small.
Very accurate.
So I guess my follow-up question then is, do you believe that this should sit under your department oversight, or should it be shifted, the animal control officer?
The easy answer would be, I would love for somebody else to take it on, but that's not really how it works.
Yeah.
The reality is they would completely interface with the police department, including our records management system. When they become a welfare officer, they're also gonna be granted the powers to issue tickets or fines for violations. And all that needs to be overseen by the police in case there's prosecution.
Yeah.
So if somebody was to get a ticket for whatever animal control violation, they still, like any other violation or crime, they have a right to a trial, and their right to be heard. So all that stuff could go through the whole process. So
Yeah,
they
I
can
mean-
go to a call, there's a violation, there's a fine, or a ticket issued, that animal control will come back, generate a case. That case would then go to prosecution. If there's a trial, then it would be prosecuted. So yes, I think it should fall under the purview of the police
Yeah,
department.
I mean, it should definitely fall under the purview of the police department, because you're also talking about cases of animal abuse,
Very much so.
and that is definitely a legal issue.
Well, where I was going with it was, like, do we need to separate it so it can move forward, or are you gonna take steps to, you know, fill that role this year?
I think we can fill it. Like I said, all along, I spoke with Jason on this, and if somebody wants the job, I have to see an application,
Mm.
right? And so I want to fill the job. I want to fill the position.
Well, you
I
know,
know that we had that one candidate that expressed interest, and then there was another person that reached out, maybe it's on the fire department, that has been being used to get some of these animals.
Right.
Um,
And we had a meeting 2 weeks ago with that individual,
okay,
and it was determined that that individual didn't want a paid job. He wanted to volunteer, but mostly for livestock that are large. He said, "Look, I don't want to do the dog and cat thing. If you have a horse, cow, or any livestock that's too big for the police to handle, or any animal control officer to handle, I have the equipment. I have trailers, I have horses, I have trucks.
Mm.
Call me, I'll help you out."
okay.
That's good to know.
Right.
And we're looking at a way to put that under the fire department so that he is covered liability-wise and everything.
How many calls does the fire department get related to animal control? Do you see many or any?
The only time we see them is if they're like and usually it's one of the guys on the fire department if the animals we're chasing, but, if they're out on the road, something like that, we're more apt to find animals that are either usually in the river, in a pond, during the ice, that kind of stuff, and otherwise it's motor vehicle accidents.
So you're more into animal rescue.
We're strictly rescue, which is what this person from the fire department wants to do with regards to animal control as well. He wants to be available to rescue a cow or a horse, somebody that, because he's got the equipment, but then it's how do we make it work?
Yeah.
And at that point, he was looking at becoming the dog officer in order to make that happen, and he didn't want that piece of the job.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's more gonna be, I think, between Mike and I, we have to sit down and talk about, call us, we will institute this rescue piece, which we would do anyway.
Yeah, and Mike, this kind of brings up a side issue of span of control. I mean, most people can handle 3 to 5 persons under them comfortably. If you start adding bodies like an animal control officer, I think it makes it all more imperative that you hire a sergeant or a lieutenant that you can have delegated to do this particular management
Yes.
aspect.
Yeah, that's definitely accurate. There has to be, there's always oversight, like you said, and there, somebody has to supervise even the animal control officer.
Yeah.
And, anytime they produce a report, that has to go through review. Anytime there's, a call for service, it may be as simple as 2 sentences, but it still gets looked at.
Yeah.
Make sure that they're operating within their job function and then also within the policies. So there are also animal control policies that are not usually, they are developed by the police department. And those policies would then be distributed to whoever takes the job. And they have to work within those parameters. So there is some oversight.
Well, what we have now is what towns had in the past, is a separate budget for animal control, not integrated into the police budget. There's no reason you can't keep a separate budget.
No, I
Okay.
believe we should be
And
keeping
I
a
think-
separate budget, but the,
What belongs in that budget dollar-wise, there isn't much of a track record on, because we
Right.
haven't been doing it.
I just want to make sure, Roger, if there are expenses incurred,
Right.
go against the animal control budget rather than the police budget.
Yep.
Separate accounting.
Well,
And
they
it can be
did in
done.
2020 for $114.40.
Yeah.
And 0 in 2021.
And 2021 so far is 0.
Yeah, and chances are that maybe it didn't get charged to the right line item, whether there was something that came in for a $200 or $300 bill. But I think it's a valuable position. A lot of towns have it. They can take on a lot of responsibility that frees up officers to actually do investigations, patrol, be on the road. We'll handle the call if we have to, of course. That's what we're here to do, help open community. But it is a beneficial position, so.
Yeah, if you delve deeply into animal control laws, in particular dog laws and nuisance laws, the towns have to do something. It gets tangled up with the fees that we charge for licensing dogs, okay? A certain amount of that money is taken in by the town, with the idea they're gonna do certain things. A town, and this is where it's helpful to have a good animal control and a PD relationship, is if a stray dog damages somebody else's animals, and that dog can't be found, or the owner can't be found, the town becomes liable for all the damages. Occasionally.
It's odd enough.
Huh?
It's odd that would be a thing, but
Yeah, the town is liable because the town was collecting. That's one of the purposes of collecting the money for the animal registration, dog licensing. So, we should acknowledge it somehow, some way. And was this the right budget? I have no way of knowing. I just copied the one before. Well, a little bit. You gave me some shit for this. Okay, but.
And that original number was,
It's 9669, and it's budgeted under pest control.
Well, no, well, I got it under animal control, but okay.
Well, we call it animal control, but in the state,
Oh, state says
chart of
pest control,
accounts is
okay.
under health is pest control.
All right,
And that original number was broken down by Tim, like how he got to it. There was an explanation of it that I still have in my records.
Yep.
Yeah, and we have in here, I think
Yeah.
it's average about 140 animal calls a year.
Mhm.
So you could do simple math off of that.
that's, 3 calls a day. 3 call, I'm sorry, 2 call every other day, effectively.
And so what we're doing is,
140?
we're
Yeah,
looking
well,
at freeing up a police officer.
Every third day?
For
Two a
the
week,
bulk
call
of
it 2 a
them,
week.
for the
Right,
bulk.
right, yeah, and sometimes we all know the animal control officers just have to be available, so we do it, we
Yeah.
take care of it. But going back to like, yeah, if we ever got tied up into a lengthy investigation of animal cruelty, well, that could tie up a lot of time.
Yeah.
A lot of time.
But you would typically probably get involved in that anyway.
I think there would
not?
be, the investigation would then take on a dual role, where,
I would-
where I think the officer, somebody would be assigned to work with the animal control
You could
officer
have a statement that real quick.
to make sure that there's progress in that investigation and that protocol and procedure is being followed. Let's face it, the animal control is not gonna have quite the experience or training that an officer has, so, but yes, there would be an officer jumping in a more serious case.
Did you have any concerns or?
No, that was just my.
All right. I think we kind of got off on a tangent here.
$9,000.
Yeah.
Well, no, it was a good observation, but we really need to go back to our big number, the police budget, and say, do we have any other comments on it?
I guess there was just one item on the electricity aspect. It seems like you're more in the $2,500 range, $2,600 range.
Annually?
Yeah. So would it be a problem to bump that down?
I don't know the historic values off the top of my head, but I'm willing to go if you think that's what it is. I mean, maybe we knock 500 on there off to be safe.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
So put
make
that
it
down to
3,000.
3,000.
Yeah, that's fine.
And I appreciate how it looks like you went through every line and did a similar assessment and actually took the money off, the year after year, Mike.
Right. Yeah, effectively, I think you guys can all see it anyway, but basically starting at line 240 all the way down to the end of the budget, there's only one increase. And that's the very last one, and that's community policing, we added $150.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, is all even or reduced.
Yeah.
And under my, like I said, my new figure is it's a 2% increase, a 2.2% increase. The entire budget.
Yeah, so what I have now, for your budget is $800,683,
Hmm.
which is roughly $15,000 more than last year.
And I got 17,000.
Well, we got 2 items to change, right?
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay, we'll change those 2, and
we're good.
I'll let the software do it.
Yep,
Okay.
And you'll get it right back anyway.
all right,
Okay, so you can check it.
good.
Have we also done animal control?
I think animal control's been,
Okay, so we can, okay.
We're gonna go forward with $1 for the police.
yes,
9,000. So we're gonna spend the extra
yeah.
$9,000.
Yeah, we're moving it so the accounts are actually reflecting true
But this
expenses.
move is costing us $9,000.
Yes, it is.
I would recommend we wait until the police say, we cannot deal with animals anymore, we're sick of it, we're done with it, then we move forward with that. That's
I
what
cannot deal with animal.
Ah.
We're sick of it and we are done with it. Wait a minute. That works?
No, it was out of sequence. It's non-valid.
Can I put it into perspective a little bit, like on a motor vehicle accident, which is where we typically run into the animal control officer. If we have a car accident with injuries, which we usually they involve if they involve a moose or whatever, that animal control officer is called in to deal with the that animal. In the meantime, we're still doing our fire department stuff. Mike's guys still have to do investigations, traffic control, reconstruction, all that kind of stuff. So not having that dog officer, then that responsibility falls back on his officers.
Right.
So I think then that officer's gotta do something with that. It's usually a carcass by that point. They gotta do something with it. They can't leave it by the side of the road. That, you know, I don't know whether it warrants $9,000, but any of that money then is pretty cheap money when you think about the time that it's gonna take. It
Yes.
takes his guys away from the job that they have to do as far as the actual investigation and the control of that scene.
Yeah, and I understand that, but I also say it's been going on
Yeah.
this way for a while, and
And I don't know that
I'm not-
$9,000 is the right amount of money. I'm just saying that it might be cheap money, but
it's 2-1, and so it be.
you could cut it there instead of the fire department.
That's what it was all about, all that for that.
And Mike, if you
To
would,
give you guys the dual kudo thing.
Mike, if you'd add to your do list, let's get a permanent designated animal
It's
control
true,
officer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where did Bob
You
are?
also have to remember, that
Yeah.
bottom line, that thing grows too much, you are stuck.
Well,
with
right
the
now,
default budget, so.
As it sits, without going through too many more items, just with that $20,000 health insurance reduction,
We're close
brings
to
us, you know, close to level funded from,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Like I said,
It's a
we're
good
doing all
place
right.
to be.
yeah.
I think it'll be a fair point to raise is how much was the increase last year?
Hmm.
So, we always need our feet held to the fire to keep efficiencies
Correct.
Yep.
rolling. And I don't think we'll be disappointed in that.
Okay,
Our feet will be held to the fire. So,
okay.
And the animal control budget actually went down.
Yep.
The budgeted amount, the amount raised, okay?
Yep.
And you have to give money back.
Okay,
Alright, so we'll go back to the beginning.
page 2,
We got the
moderator.
elections and registration.
Um,
So is the board all set with me?
What was
Yes,
that total number for the
Thank you.
PD then?
thank you.
Appreciate it.
And 800,683.
800,068.
800,000.
Good day.
Okay, back to-
All right, thank you, Mike.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay,
Okay, you got a pretty good, I feel for this election of registration and the moderator when you went through with them.
Yeah,
yep,
Uh,
pretty comfortable with that.
are you okay with the moderator's budget?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with it. I don't see a problem.
Isn't the talk of the pizza? Oh yeah, there it is. Moderator election day meals.
Yep. Gets to eat twice, though.
How come that isn't there twice, Jim?
What's
The
that?
election day meals, was that just each election is $450 or?
It's under, the line item is 450 and then again under
Also
610
610.
on moderator.
That's for the year.
But it's twice.
It's a moderator's salary for the year.
No, 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 no,
The
no.
meals.
Oh, meals,
Meals, 450 and
There
610.
appears to be two lines for that.
oh, meals. Election day meals. It's in twice.
Yes.
It shouldn't be.
Okay.
Or which
I
one?
don't know why it's, I can't tell you why it's in twice, other than the fact that,
Should we strike 610?
yeah, let's strike 610.
Okay.
The accounts. Okay. I'm not sure, I know what happened. Okay. The meals were coming out of another budget. They shouldn't have.
They were coming out of elections, that's on our
Yeah, they were
worksheet.
coming out of the election budget. It says meals moved to
It used to be
moderator.
610 in elections, so maybe that's,
That's what happened, yeah, okay. Okay, so we'll take this one out.
Good.
which one are we taking out?
610.
In the moderator.
Moderator, 610.
We take
So
out the
450
610.
stays. 450.
Hmm.
So we're back down to 16, 17?
Yeah.
Is that what you come up with?
Sounds good. Elections and registrations.
Question on that. There's a big discrepancy between actual and department request. I mean, we're talking the expenditures of $6,500 versus $16,000.
Where are you?
Elections, registrations,
that.
total, down at the bottom. Total elections and registrations. I mean, am I missing something that hasn't been expended, or? I mean, that's 10 grand.
Okay, you have an item in there for $5,000. Electronic check-in,
Yeah,
which was discussed with you.
Yeah, that was.
that's the big line item.
433, computer services.
And then the rest of it goes up because there's more activity. You got more elections.
We have the town elections, primaries, and actual. So we have 3 elections coming up in 2022.
Right. But you didn't have 3 elections in 2021.
Right, we only
You
had,
had a town meeting.
right, that was the only
There's a
one.
huge difference, yeah.
So that 16,000 is a good number?
Yes,
Okay,
because otherwise it'd be 11,
yep,
which is less than 3 times, you know,
okay.
well under it. And you already discussed with them the electronic check.
Yep,
Correct.
I remember
So
that.
how did we pull that off? In 2020, we had the same type of election year.
Yeah, that was, I think,
And we spent $16,000.
yep,
This year, we're proposing to spend $16,300, and we're buying $5,000 worth of computers.
The electronic check-in, what I understand is that it's a new process, so that you don't have to have the 3 tables with the
Right.
alphabets. You can go to any table, and it's online.
But I don't understand how we were able to
In
shave
2020, you're comparing.
$4,000 out of here to be able to afford, right? Am I looking at something wrong?
Well, it's a midterm, so it's not quite the same as the, that was like the national election year, so
Oh, is it?
2024 will probably jump a little bit.
well, I mean, we're reducing the ballot clerks by half,
Yeah, that has to do with the check.
reducing the repairs and maintenance by
That's
half.
where the savings is coming. It's almost paying for itself in 1 year,
Yeah, pretty much.
is what we're hoping for.
Yeah.
We'll see what the,
It all works too.
yeah, that's what we're projecting.
Okay, we're good.
This
Yeah,
is
that's
a
good.
tough budget to follow because of all the different, each year is different. You can't just say, well, last year you only wanted that much, and, you know, how come you don't want more, you know?
And then we also have the town clerk is involved in this that has to be
Right.
Yeah,
So it is a complicated one, I agree.
And part of the town clerk's duties involve elections.
mm-hmm. Town clerk, tax and salaries. Okay. Deputy. Well, okay. Where are we, on vital stats, are we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is the town clerk.
Right, line item 130. We seem to be budgeting 0 for the tax deputy.
Well, I believe it went underneath
Oh,
the
it-
tax collector salaries.
Got moved.
Okay, so it got moved
We
up.
don't have a deputy anymore.
Okay,
We should, my suggestion is you get a deputy. It can be somebody who just knows what happens.
yep,
You give them $250 and that's it, and if they have to come in, then they jump in and you have the money for it.
well,
But they need a certain qualifications
They have to
and
live in
training.
town.
That's it.
They have to be a resident of the town and a registered voter.
Wasn't it explained to us?
it was
that
explained,
She would not
Margie can't.
say our town clerk is out sick. There's certain things that nobody can do except for a deputy.
That's right, the
Yes.
deputy has to be there to sign off. Somebody else can put it together,
right,
but the deputy has to be there to sign off, okay? Especially vital statistics, you know, birth certificates, marriage licenses and
Yes.
stuff. The majority of what goes through there is motor vehicle. And Margie is the employee that works for the town clerk, tax collector. So she can do a lot of things, she can do almost everything that comes in on a daily basis, except one little problem. She can't be legally the town clerk, tax collector, so there's things she can't sign off on,
hmm,
Yeah.
So
okay?
does that make so that she cannot do a registration for the car?
Oh, no, she can do all the motor vehicle.
yeah,
So is this an end of the day kind of a thing? Someone would have to come in and sign off on everything
right,
that much?
yeah. I mean, it's like an official authorization position.
But if you came in for a marriage license, 2 in the afternoon, you're not gonna get it
Yeah.
unless Debbie's there. You could fill out the paperwork, and then somebody, the clerk or the deputy could then sign off on it and give it back to you, but you're not gonna get it instantly.
Yes,
That's the problem with that.
And I have spoken to Debbie about the, you know,
We have the same
Getting a
problem with the
deputy.
treasurer.
yeah.
We need to have a deputy treasurer and a deputy
yeah.
town clerk,
And
tax collector.
And there's another added twist to that, given that we are looking for a town administrator. And the position of treasurer, town clerk is an elected position. And
So treasurer.
there may be a conflict there, you know, given the applicants for town administrator.
I haven't reviewed the applicants.
Okay, well,
So,
it's,
I'd appreciate our discussion.
I,
Stay away from.
I'd like to stay away from it, and it's sensitive, but it needs to be considered at some point.
I'm sure it's going to be.
Okay, I'm just, you know, have a little
Not an
concern.
intent to do both.
Right,
Okay.
No, she's aware.
okay, well, I'm just saying there's some issues that we'd have to address.
Just one more election spot, that's all.
If we get it on the ballot in time,
Yeah.
that's
One
the
of-
trick.
One of the things on here that she asked for, and it's in the statutes that it can be done, not that it has been done. She was asking for a line 230, retirement.
Well, it's not a requirement.
The clerk is not part of
It's
this,
not an absolute requirement.
the clerk is not part of the retirement system?
A town clerk tax collector can be part of the retirement system,
But is not necessarily?
but that's up to, in other words, it's not a force fit. In other words, she doesn't have to be because we're involved with the system, but she can be, or they can be, or he, or whatever.
So what we're doing here
Mhm.
is not only does the tax collector get her salary of $55,000 a year, but this would add an additional burden of $8,000 into our retirement account donations, our account
That's correct.
expenses.
Tax
That has
collectors,
not-
town clerks before have gotten it in previous years, you go back far enough.
Yeah, but in recent years, when Jessica was there, she did not get it.
No, she didn't.
But others have.
Mhm.
Others have.
But others have in the past.
Oh, hmm.
And it's common in a number of towns, not all, a number of towns, for the town clerk, tax collector, who, they tend to be there for a period of time and look like an employee.
Go unlock the doors. I guess we hadn't unlocked the doors.
Not a good thing. Oh, time to get sustenance.
Well, you know,
So, and
there might be a point here where we wanna call a recess, huh? Do you think?
We need to fortify ourselves.
Indeed, we do. The labor is very taxing.
well, I tell you what.
Are we in agreement to take a recess, or do we wait for the chairman to come back to make it official?
No, we
for
just
us?
walk
You
around.
get, you
We
get,
just.
you get past this, you haven't got really much to play with.
Once we're done here? Well, we have
No, we're
DPW coming up.
No,
You, Jason, because it's the next biggest item, and I wanna allow
Alright.
enough time for that. Because I'm gonna have a hard line ending the meeting at 1 today. We're not gonna go over.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I think you're in good shape.
I think we are.
I think you're in very good shape.
Outside of,
You're right here on vital statistics, are you done with that, or?
are we done?
No,
Yeah.
we're gonna shift over to DPW.
We're gonna come back to the
Yeah,
town
we'll come
clerk.
back, we'll come back
Page
now.
9, okay. Yeah, most of them are self-explanatory. Okay. All right.
It's on
So-
2 pages, it starts on mine,
Yeah.
and goes to 10, so.
On line 210, Jim, do you think there could be a possible adjustment for their health insurance, or was that done recently, like after all the
Oh, I
enrollees have
did,
enrolled?
we went through that, yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
alright,
You'll notice it's a good deal less than the previous year.
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, roughly, just so the taxpayers know, $16,000 less.
Hmm.
That was a good move to the health trust.
Yeah, line 115, we had a discussion about plowing the other night. Should that line be increased, since we are going to be providing some additional
That's a
compensation?
time and a half line.
No, well, we gotta put it sompace.
I
Should it
don't
be,
believe.
should it be in line 111, or should it be line 110, or
What are you
should?
talking about? DPW overtime?
Well, we
115.
we are offering
Who's offering?
this board.
I don't
Alright, hold
believe
on,
we
hold on.
ever,
That's some
alright, I
strong
wanna hear
coffee,
it.
huh?
I wanna hear it. Finish your thought.
Well, we had a sealed meeting, if you will. So I don't know how we can
Okay.
open that one up, where we agreed based on some requests by an individual, to provide some additional compensation.
Yeah, to allow for the hourly work on top of.
Where do we put that number?
That goes into salaries.
I put it in the salaries.
Salaries is fine. I just want to make sure we
Straight time.
encompass it.
It's not time and a
I
half.
thought you were talking about line 150.
No, I just thought it would be in that because it was extra. But if you want to put it in salaries, I'm okay with that too.
I believe that's where it would be.
So you want to kick that up to, say, 330? Or,
Right now, in the actual,
We still haven't got
yeah,
hired
and
that.
based on 2020, which isn't a heck of a lot different, we're probably gonna end up around, that was 263, we're at 240, I don't see us going,
I think we're safe to leave it where it's at.
yeah.
that's fine.
I think we kinda looked at that at one point.
I'm just wondering if what actually happened here is that Peter slid some money around to accommodate, some possible cost overruns for like vehicles or snow plowing
Well,
or
go to the
materials.
Next page, the calcium line is, where is that? I'll tell you in a minute.
Yeah, I see it. 490.
Yeah, the calcium,
Yeah, I mean,
we moved it down to 4,000.
okay.
It's something that's very useful when it's used, it can be very helpful, it's a dust control agent, and it remains in the road and helps,
Yeah, I know what it does.
yeah.
But, we've increased salt, we've increased the gasoline a bit. Should be sand in there someplace, I don't see it.
Well, that's the equipment lease. He's hoping to rent what did he say in his?
We get our own sand.
Oh, okay, we have our own
He's
grade.
hoping to rent
We have our
some
own
equipment to
sandbox.
make sand for the next couple of years. He explained it in here.
The big one he has that's up is, again, is vehicle maintenance.
Yep. But if we, see, that's another discussion item. We're talking about increasing the vehicle capital reserve for the highway department. If we are buying new vehicles, his vehicle maintenance should go down.
But it's not gonna happen overnight.
No, I know that, but,
Interestingly, one of the things the auditors looked at past several years, which I haven't given an answer on, is why is vehicle maintenance for the DPW, the expense way above what's appropriated?
Well, you can't predict it, and we've been slowly increasing year after year. 'Cause
Well,
it seems like,
the comment I got back when I researched it was that the selectmen didn't wanna budget any more than that. So, okay.
no, no, but the other part is we've been deferring vehicle replacement.
Well, that enters into it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like you or I buying a car. If I buy a car every 3 years and I have a 3-year warranty on the car, bumper to bumper, okay?
you're gonna have very little
I have very little maintenance other than, maybe a
oil change.
oil change, and depending on how many miles I drive, a set of tires,
Right.
you know.
yeah, so we should be under that 80,000 this year, I'd imagine, with the new equipment
Yeah.
that we got.
Well, we got a
pieces.
new loader, that should drop it down
New truck,
considerably,
yeah.
and a new 1-ton. I'm comfortable with the 80,000 there.
I think Peter took that into account when he's asking for 80,000.
Yep,
And we've had major repairs done.
yeah, we have.
Hopefully that
Like
means.
every repair is 25,000.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yes.
That's true.
I'm just looking at electricity. How do you come up with 5252? Line item 622.
Which one?
Line item 622. I love the exact number.
Well, this was 5652 was the actual spend.
Yeah, I don't
We're
know.
anticipating a slight savings with our new,
Yeah,
Heating system.
Whatever.
there's been some energy efficiency things done.
All right.
and they've-
We bumped up propane.
it does appear to be a,
I mean,
Level
one could
funded
tweak it
line.
a little higher based on this current year's use,
Yep.
but I don't think you need to.
Yeah, and why are we budgeting 0 for gravel and cold patch? I mean, are we just, we're not patching the roads anymore, or the potholes, or?
or is there a
No, he's
surplus?
no longer using those accounts. And
Yeah, but where's the, I mean, I know he's out there patching roads, or patching potholes.
I mean, I can ask him for an explanation, but he's got this mixed in with something else.
Oh, and,
Not paving, because there's nothing there.
It could very well be in the highway block grant.
yeah, well, that could
Because
be,
the highway block grant
does allow that,
allows for all that.
yeah. And what does DPW do with wildlife management?
That was a question I had. It doesn't look like.
Apparently nothing.
All I could think of would be, if you hit a deer with a plow truck, you bring it back over the hood.
Throwing animals off the road, but that's just like.
And you cut it up for steaks.
Well, there's no justification either.
There's a story behind it, we know there is.
Well,
But there hasn't
especially
been
if we
anything
strike
charged
it,
to it.
right?
I think we should
I
strike
don't-
that
I
one.
don't think there'll be any pain felt if we strike it.
I think it should be 0.
It's a very painless.
Leave the line item in, just turn it to 0.
Okay.
Do you have to leave dollars in these to leave them in place, Jim? Like, or can you zero it out?
No, you can zero out wildlife management.
Okay.
Hey,
Yeah,
there's another
Okay,
buck we can take
because-
off for the selectmen thing.
What?
There's another buck we can take off.
Yeah.
We set aside
Yeah,
$1 for our.
Yeah, zero that out too.
Which one?
On our VOS budget.
Do you wanna zero out?
That was the miles, lodging, and meals.
Well, I think, yeah, that's so that it can be used this year. Like
If
it'll
you,
stay
if you
in-
put $1
Yeah,
amount.
but it'll stay active. Like,
Yeah.
in the
Also,
system.
if it says 0, then you're not.
you
allowed
can't
to
spend
touch it.
anything, whereas
This year?
if you put $1 in, you can slide money into it if there's a necessity.
So which one were you talking about?
It's dumb, but
I'm trying to learn. Thank you guys for your patience with me. I add to your time in going through this stuff.
You
uh,
already did the dollar on that one.
Yeah. we
yeah,
did.
just leave it.
Okay,
Um,
so you're gonna take out wildlife management or leave $1?
Take it out.
take it out.
It'd be different if there's some type of explanation.
Or that they actually spent some money for it.
Yeah.
Tree removal, he did not do any work this year, and I asked him specifically about that, and he said he couldn't get anybody. And yet he reduced the budget there. I mean, we have trees that have now grown 2 years, not just 1 year. And he did pull some trees out of Greenville Road that were ready to flop over, some dead ones,
Yeah.
at the request of one of the residents. But I think there's a lot more tree removal that needs to be done in town.
Which there has been tree removal. I'm
Yeah, I
surprised
bet
that
he's
there's
been
no-
doing it with his guys and a
If he does it
chainsaw.
with his guys, it doesn't go there.
Yeah,
Well, no, over on Boynton Hill Road, he had somebody come in, cause there's large trees, and I actually feel like
I don't know
a
where
few
it got
phone
charged.
calls.
I don't know where it got
But I don't
charged.
know if it was a wash, like, they just took the trees and didn't charge for the labor.
yeah, I mean,
Trees
but,
had value.
but I could see $2,500, $3,000 in tree removal. 1,500 seems pretty light, especially if you're removing a really big one and you need a crane or something in place.
But he hasn't been spending it,
I know he hasn't. I mean,
so like I'd be more,
just leave it alone.
or moving it down to $1, and then if he needs to use it, then it's there.
Which one's that?
Tree removal.
Somehow it's being utilized in another category. We've got too many categories.
Because again, there's no explanation in his justification sheets
Right.
for the money anyways.
So that's going to $1?
And I haven't been here long enough to go back and look at all this stuff. You know, this isn't like my 5th year of doing a budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
this,
gone to $1, Sean?
I think you're right, Sean. I think it feels like a little slush fund that's been slid around.
Yeah. And if we take it out, but leave the placeholder,
Yeah,
maybe it'll provoke him to actually, if there is an
Yeah, I don't think
expense, to
it's-
put it in the right
I
spot.
don't think it's fair to call them slush funds. I think of all the departments, this one is the hardest to predict because it's so weather related and.
I
You know
agree
what
with
I
you
mean?
there,
Yeah.
but
So-
even so, you know, we should be accounting for it properly.
Yeah, as best we can.
You wanna leave $1 in that one?
Yeah, that's fine.
$1 in tree removal.
Yeah.
Yep. Roadside mowing. Why did we have 0 in that? Or spent,
Find anybody and he needs to do roadside mowing.
I think he did say that he ended up putting one of his guys doing it. Is
Yeah.
that what he says?
yeah,
He rented one employee during the summer that runs a rental roadside mower. And he just does that for 2 months, so.
That's not a heck, considering the miles of road we have, it's not a big amount. It's a
Yeah.
question of getting somebody to do it, and it's needed.
Well, again,
It's
there's
definitely
there's
needed.
justification for the expenditure for the upcoming year,
Yeah.
so.
yeah, so let's leave it at
It
5.
wouldn't be under sub. It would just be roadside mowing, period, because that would actually go more under equipment rental, would it not?
I don't know.
Yeah,
But just leave it as it
Yeah,
is.
leave it
for
there,
today.
yeah.
Leave it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because of all of the budgets, it'd be nice if the categorizations and the terms were the same.
Mhm.
There's one part in here that he has listed as like, vehicle maintenance, for instance. If Meredith just had one vehicle maintenance line,
Yeah.
you know, so,
yeah,
but that's an overall picture thing.
okay.
That's what we have here, don't we? One,
Yeah, we have one line.
oh,
If you have an account for each vehicle, it does get a bit unwieldy.
Yeah,
And then we got people charge, and I've seen that attempted, and then you got repairs on the wrong vehicle and stuff like that. But one thing I've seen done, which was fairly effective, and I was involved in doing it, there was one account for vehicle maintenance for the budget. Nothing ever got charged to it, because it had sub-accounts for each vehicle. And then you could look down and see what vehicles were getting the maintenance.
Okay. Yeah,
Mm.
that'd be good too, then you have a running record of it initially.
Then when you look at something like this, you see, okay, I got $60,000 for vehicle maintenance, and I got 10 here, 15 here, 3 there, you know,
yeah,
and you get some idea.
yeah, when it's time to replace the thing.
But I really didn't have the time to make that cultural
Yeah.
change.
All right. Culvert seems to be another unused account. How do you spend $22 on a culvert?
What account are you on?
$390. I mean, in 2020, he spent $22.40 on a culvert. I have no idea how you spend,
It sounds more like the,
Where is it?
it looks to me like he's asking us to get rid of that line.
yeah, I think so.
Which line is this?
Culverts.
Culverts, $390. $390.
that looks like it can't be for much more than the connectors.
It,
You
it,
don't have a 390.
Yeah,
Sure you do, it's after 492. It's out of order. Oh, it looks like it's out of order because it went from.
Oh, I
3 to
see,
4.
no, it's got a 3 in there,
Yeah.
okay. 49,
oh, yeah.
DPW culverts.
yep. That's kind
That's
of,
0.
yeah, but if you look back, how do you spend $22 on a culvert?
you charge something to that account when you meant to charge it somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, that's a screwball.
Well, at least it's not 25,000.
I could live with 25,000 for a culvert replacement.
I think that's because it wrapped into the block grant.
Yeah,
Is
probably.
this how it's going?
Yeah,
Ah,
Yeah.
he's using the block grant money for all his culvert.
yeah, culvert, some of
And
the
it
crushed sand,
Yeah.
different items like that.
Okay,
Ah,
sand
For
looks,
some reason, somebody has account 4312 is the account for the highway. Dot 1 is the regular highway. Then we have dot 2, dot 3,
hmm,
dot 4, 5, and 9, and I'm not sure what the logic behind that was.
mhm.
I've never seen anybody take and bring up a highway budget when you got one supervisor, one crew, and one pile of trucks and equipment.
Yeah, yeah, so it should be under the, all under the one.
Under one, or it should be organized differently.
Okay,
Yeah.
But, and I saw that when I looked at it, cause I got somewhat confused as to why they had this all busted up.
yeah,
So it's something to look at, I think, for doing differently in the future.
Hmm. All right. Sliding down, salt and fuel look pretty good. Signs and markers seems underfunded. I'd like to kick that up to about 1,500,
oh yeah, it's been over expended,
2 years in a row.
except for, so this is a budget that needs to be looked at a little bit closer in this upcoming year to tighten it up a bit. You know, cause last year, they were roughly $80,000 under budget,
Hmm.
which I don't know what the contributing factors to that was, but
I think
Well-
the big one was they didn't hire the mechanic.
Yeah.
They had
Yeah.
budgeted for.
Right.
It was 52,000 just for the salary.
Yeah, I mean, the salaries are under by $60,000-$70,000.
you know,
$60,000, just the salaries alone. But I'd say,
it would be good to have a more accurate representation of what they're expending on the signs.
yeah,
So I'm hesitant to move it up just because of the, even with all the, you know, additional maintenance and things, they still seem to be able to keep it in line, which is good.
And, yeah, they're not overexpending their budget. Well, I guess they did in 2020. 2021,
But that's
so far,
less.
it doesn't look like they're going over what's budgeted.
But we did take out $3,500. So I can see, yeah, putting that up to 2,000, Bert.
I was gonna say
You said
1,500.
15, yeah.
Which one?
The
Signs, signs and markers, 1,500.
You wanna make it 1,500, okay.
I think that's, I don't know, a
The numbers
compromise?
are telling us,
What?
that's what the numbers are telling us.
Well,
Kinda.
1,400
Yeah.
the year before and 1,800
Yeah.
this last year. And I know that there's
Yeah, actual
certain
expenses
a certain deficiency in signs and markers.
in this town.
So what do you
and
say?
Sharp curves and things.
1,500?
But I don't think,
Oh, you wanna go to, I don't know.
Why not? I wrote it down at 1,500. What do you think?
Perfect.
You guys got an election going here or what?
Do I have?
Well, it'd be closer to the mark
okay,
at 15,
Yeah.
Okay.
and we'll see what the year brings.
All right. DPW paving. So all the DPW paving is actually money from the block grant and the warrant articles. And they don't, then they don't actually spend anything.
yeah.
Okay.
Equipment rental. Is 1,500 enough, or do we need to kick that up a little bit?
Well, that's what you asked for.
He seems happy with it.
Okay, let's leave it.
And you know what the last one is?
Yep.
Okay.
DPW lease,
That's for that
That's the loader.
loader.
that's the annual.
Okay,
Where's the cost for renting a roller for patching and shimming roads. He does mention renting
You want to do streetlights while you got the book open to this page?
a
Sure.
screener.
Put a check mark on it and go.
Hold on,
I don't know
Jim.
what else to do with it.
He wants to rent a crusher to crush our gravel and a screener, so we can screen a couple of years of sand. I don't think he's quite budgeted it with the 1,500, but I guess.
He's probably under budgeting that, but
I don't wanna get too, into,
I think
Into the details?
well, no, adding. We don't need to add for it.
No, I agree, and somehow things seem to work out at the end of the year.
well, Peter does more sliding around than anybody else with his budget.
I think, like I said, because of the weather-related aspect of it, I think it's.
Yeah, the snow's over.
Yep,
Oh, there's our 8 inches.
that's 8 inches. We're blessed and we'll
Alright.
move on.
So outside lighting,
What are the blinkers? I don't even know what that is.
We got one at newest.
Oh,
Right,
on the
right.
the highway, the fire department?
That one, did it ever get fixed or looked at?
We
Does
paid for all
anybody
these
know?
blinkers up and down here.
All right,
Okay, but nobody's ever, they weren't budgeting for them, so I put it in.
all right, that's what
Well,
happened.
you'll notice that the overall budget is
Substantially less.
almost down half compared to the other year.
Well, I'd like to say kudos to the previous select boards.
right, yeah, they did a really
That was
good
a lot of
job.
work, and
Yep.
that's a substantial annual savings.
That is.
Yeah,
That just happens. That's great. Let's see if we can pass on some
Okay.
legacy like that, huh?
right,
Okay, so you wanna go back to where we,
oh, transfer station,
okay, you wanna do that?
Transfer station, we're sliding through. FICA, Medicare, uniforms, footwear,
This does generate some revenue.
yeah.
so how come the FICA is a 0?
Yeah, that's kind of bogus.
220,
Okay. So it didn't get put in, okay, so I'll have to add like a,
Yeah. Okay. Suppose tires,
When we were talking with Peter
I'll
here,
tell you what the FICA is gonna be.
6.3.
The FICA is gonna be 891, 892 rather.
Okay.
So that will add 892 to this.
yeah,
Yep. Hmm.
and then in the uniform and footwear line, 290,
Yep.
you know, we're budgeting money for that, but they don't seem to use it. It's not a lot, but they should use it if we're gonna budget for it year after year.
Let's cut it down to 200.
You know, they may be in need of new protective clothing. I would go and ask the question at some point in time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
How come we haven't done anything with this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll just leave it.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah, all right.
And then the communications line, I don't know if it's not, we're budgeting $1,700 a year, and
I think
the
this,
last 2 years they haven't.
I know it.
I thought there was a phone in the shack out there, but it doesn't work.
I thought they were also connected to the internet to do their transactions now.
But I wonder if that's for Roger to
Yeah.
find out.
Why, let me make a note of why not charged, okay? Because yes, they do have a phone out there.
Yeah,
And the phone is part of our phone system here. So they have to have internet out there for that phone.
yeah,
Plus for the they got a PC out there and or
Cash register.
Yeah.
cash box and software to run the
Yeah.
thing. Okay, so why not charge?
Hmm.
Okay.
Yep. And if you go down to the next line item, supplies, they seem to be spending, I don't know, $750, $1,000, and he's budgeting 500. Should that be bumped up?
Sorry, what was that, Bert?
General supplies, 610. I'm thinking somewhere 750, 800, 1,000.
Year before was 704, so.
Maybe,
Yeah, 2020 was 704, 2021 was 1,027.
that's maybe up to 750.
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
Which was this?
610.
610,
610? You wanna put it up to what, 750?
750. Yeah, I mean, it's not much, but
No.
that looks good. Tire disposal. Yeah, that seems okay.
Oh. I put that down to 1,500.
It says electricity or?
No, the tire.
Tire disposal.
Tires. They only used 8,000,
Yeah.
or 800 last year.
Yeah, but the year before it was 2050, so I mean,
Those things go out in batches,
Yeah,
so you can get, if you're low this year, you make it wrapped next year. In other words, the container isn't ready to take it out, but it might be in January or February, and then you got it late in the year and you got two loads. I'm just,
yeah,
how
that,
those kind of things work.
I don't know, I mean, Peter made the number 2,000 for a reason. I don't know.
But they do collect money on this stuff too.
Yeah, I mean, they're collecting $5, $10 a tire.
gonna make an adjustment or no?
No, I think leave it. I think it's okay, because it is cyclical.
I think you could almost increase the general supplies and fund that completely with the electricity.
What?
Make your increase of $250 and just take it right out of.
Well, this printout too is, leaves 2.5 weeks. 3
Oh,
weeks
2.5.
in the year,
Yeah, because it's, if you look up in the upper left corner, it's
We're not gonna do
16th.
December bill till January.
16th of December.
There's more bills to come in on that electricity.
So it went up quite a bit then from 2020.
Yeah.
Now, those motors out there for the machines, they suck up a lot of juice and you can't get three-phase out there, I don't think, no. There's no three-phase out there, which would be cheaper to run.
Yeah. And an inverter would cost about $6,000 or $7,000.
I mean, their actual for this year is probably gonna be awful close to the budget.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't have any other.
Everything else looks pretty well in line.
So you just
See
added.
you later. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Have a good day. Just
Electronic,
added 1,500 to it. 15, no, 16.
yeah,
How much?
Well,
1642.
there's 892 on the FICA, that's not being added to it, that was just missed.
Yep. Yep.
99,706.
Okay,
Alright.
if you wanna do the next two that relate to it.
Yep.
Yep.
Landfill water and gas testing, okay? We were not doing everything that was required by the state. The state did not give us our grant money this year. We're looking at resubmitting and maybe getting it in the coming year.
Okay.
I went after the grant money, I didn't see the grant money.
Yep.
When I set the taxes, I had put down the grant as revenue, and I found out that the DRA had something from DES that said there is no
Yeah,
grant for New Ipswich this year,
right.
because we weren't filing all the reports. My understanding as a member of the previous board thought it was an unfunded mandate.
Right.
It wasn't.
Oh,
So that's why.
that's my recollection.
That's kind of a fixed number, that 11,365.
Okay.
For the testing. Mowing is $1,000. And gets mowed
Okay.
once a year. It takes a little bit of time, because it's got some steep slopes on it to mow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that's kind of stuck.
Yeah. So that.
And hazardous waste, I pulled this out separate, and made it $3,000 instead of $4,640, based on what we typically use. And if we look at previous history, which it doesn't show in here right now, we budget for so much per household.
Yeah.
The problem is, nobody uses it.
Yep.
And we only get charged for what we use,
Yeah. Don't they have to run to Keene to make the drop off?
halfway to Walpole.
All right.
So you gotta go up.
Well, it's not that nobody uses it.
It's
Last
just-
year was $1,800.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
it's
it
just
gets
a long-
used. I've used it,
Yeah, it's just a long trot, so you have to have a fairly good load to make it worthwhile.
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you for bumping that down, Jim.
Yep.
So I wanted to put it somewhere closer to reality, and it wasn't a question of, paying on a formula. There's a formula for budgeting.
Yeah.
Mm.
All right. So we'll go back to tax collector.
Tax collector, yep. All right. On.
And where we were at was the discussion with the retirement
Yeah.
contribution.
Right.
And in our, when Debbie was in, we had discussed 457 retirement plan.
Right, we could do that too.
Which
Is that legal?
What's that?
I thought you said you found out that we can't do that.
Oh, no, we can't do that for the employees,
Oh.
okay?
But for the
Because
town-
we've signed up for the state
yeah,
system.
so that's
And
done.
anything 32 hours and up has to go into the state retirement.
Okay.
So, but we can do for everybody here a 457 plan. And any, part-timers and this and that, but that, which is fine. Assuming the town doesn't contribute, then you don't put it in the budget.
Yeah.
But it becomes something available for people
Yeah.
With no matching funds by the town.
with no matching funds by the town.
I would
Uh,
guess it would be utilized. I would think a lot of people would grab a hold of it, even though there is no matching funds,
Depends what the rate of return is.
It's
It's gonna
high.
vary.
Yeah.
I've been in this thing since 1992 with the same people. It's very high. Very good, very well run. The problem is once you get to our, it could be used by somebody in the retirement system too, but they have to have some disposable income.
Hmm.
So it might depend on their age, their spouse's income, and a bunch of other stuff, but,
See, and I even had a note here that we could contribute, like the town could contribute at a lower rate of what, 3 to 4%,
right.
yeah,
To
into that retirement plan
this,
for,
but not this retirement, this is
yeah, this is.
mandated.
No, it's
No,
not.
no, it's not
mandated.
mandated.
No, no,
This
No,
is,
I'm saying if we did whatever form of retirement is
The
being
state
offered
retirement.
here, that number is non-negotiable if we
Correct.
accept that.
Yeah,
You're talking about this, what is it, a
457,
457.
which we could go 0, you know,
And I could, you already are.
yeah,
I signed up for it,
yeah,
okay? But it has to be a paycheck deduction. You just can't write a check out like you're
right,
getting an IRA or something like that,
right.
okay?
yeah,
So
And-
just,
So and it can be aggressive on the part of the person using it, you know, much more so than what you'd find at the bank, but, the town's already a member.
mm,
Mm.
are the employees aware of it?
Probably not, so what I'm doing one for myself, even though it's not gonna last very long, okay? Quite frankly, what it does is it means that some of the income starting last week, isn't subject to federal income tax. If I get Medicare, I will have to pay it when I take it out.
Right, it's like an IRA.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, for the money,
But
yeah.
in that sense, but it's vastly different as far as affordability goes.
Mm,
You can do a lot of things with it, and you can play catch-up. For example, I, in a given year, can put it up to $19,600. You can't do that with an IRA.
no, you can't.
No.
No, you have to do a set
So
for
I
that.
effectively, for the rest of the time I work here, can take all my take-home pay.
So where were you going with that? Were you
So
wanting to
the-
Back to
so
this.
that-
Well,
so
the
that-
question is, do we want to offer Debbie retirement funds on top
So
of
I
our
don't
salary?
want to tie the town to the state plan.
No,
The 457, offering the 457 retirement plan is more attractive. And then do we have any town funds that go towards that, or just make it
Yeah.
available?
if you give it to Debbie, you would probably have to offer it with matching funds to everybody else.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
So, what I'm thinking is just to get the information out there
Mm-hmm,
this year, letting the employees know that it's available to them,
This 457.
yeah, with no town funds to it. And then in subsequent years, that, you know, maybe making
Okay.
a decision to, like,
But-
once we get an idea of how many people are participating in it,
formalize it.
yeah.
Okay, but I think
And
the
offer
question right now on the table is, do we tell Debbie, yes, we will put the 8,000 in and lock her into the retirement system, or do we zero this out?
I mean, zeroed out is where I'm at,
Yeah, that's what I,
yeah.
that's where I thought you were going.
Yeah, but I'd still like to promote the 457.
No, no, I have no problems with that, but they're two different
Yep.
things.
Yeah,
I think you should have a conversation with her on it. I mean,
Whoever the town clerk.
well, we
is.
did, when she was in,
Yeah,
and she was aware of that, and she knew she was just throwing this kind of
okay.
out there.
All right, okay, zero it out then.
Okay.
Okay, registration.
I really appreciate it. She put a lot of work into justifying
Mm-hmm,
Yeah,
expenses. It
yep.
was interesting to see.
So you're pretty much done with that one?
Yep, yep. Just a question on binding town reports. Is that part of the printing of town reports?
No,
Okay.
that's taking a bunch of them and putting them together in a big book.
Oh, all right.
And there's $0.
There-
Correct.
There's no need to do that this year.
Okay,
Computer services.
research.
Another big one was the records management, which, because Debbie is now on the Heritage Commission, at our last meeting, she took us down, to the records room and showed us what she was looking to preserve, and, you know,
It's a
you may
mess.
have gotten the feeling that I'm not really in favor of increasing stuff, budgets, but these kinds of items, them books, if they burn, it'd really be a shame to lose.
Yeah, you lose the
'Cause
entire
we're
history of the
going
town.
through these 1800s books
Oh, yeah.
that are sitting there with no,
Well, I mean, there's a number of problems. You know, one, you mentioned burning, but if we have vermin down there like mice
Yeah.
or dampness or whatever, that history is totally lost.
and there has been money allocated for it in the past,
Yeah.
not fully used,
Yep.
but.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with leaving that.
Yeah, I think everything else is okay by me.
Yeah, and then I had on the research part, had an asterisk that said do not touch, or when she was in here, yeah,
Which one?
the research. So,
I think that's important.
Yep.
I know it's important because.
It's for
the
deed research.
The research wasn't done this year because one of the principals in the company passed away. I have since worked with them on the tax deeded property sale, and they're back up online and fully functioning. And the company we use is called Total Notice,
Mm-hmm.
and they're extremely good.
All right. Trustees, I think that's all right.
So what's the total number we end up with on town clerk?
We'll take 8,000 off, so it'll be around 116.
huh,
What did you get from there to there? Okay. Yep, all right.
And don't forget that you added into the clerk, $3,482 for voting machine support,
So,
which came out of election and registration.
yeah, we have to remember that.
Just kind of slid it around, okay?
So
yeah, I was just gonna ask why we were off roughly 3,000 from her request when she came in to what we have here, but, yep.
So that has to be factored out of any percentage increase that somebody wants to bring up.
A lot of shifting and putting things where they're supposed to go, yeah, yeah.
It really is.
Alright, financial administration. Our trustees budget,
I think that's pretty reasonable.
yep. Do you have any points of comment on that? Okay.
The audit is a contract.
That's kind of locked in. I
I'm
don't,
wondering, are we, I hate to raise things again, but are we in need of more thorough audits?
Well, you'll get what you need with this.
yeah,
That's enough money to give
Yes.
a very.
Yeah.
We have
They will
one
be
from-
coming in to go over things with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, cause I have one from, when is this, 2019?
We're doing 2019 audit, yeah.
I haven't seen anything more recent. Not that I'm really interested in reading them all, but I think they're important.
No, you're
Yeah.
gonna get a full-blown
Is it
audit, where we're in the final stages of doing the
Yeah.
2020 audit, but should have been done a long time ago.
yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah,
We'll get started
and,
till
you know,
midsummer.
Jason, to your question or point, I've asked a question about audits myself, and I know how to do an audit, but I don't know how to do what I would call a forensic audit to make sure the money's going where it ought to be going. And I've asked the question a couple times, and I think we've been changing auditors like every 6 or 8 years so that we get a separate opinion on a regular basis rather than stick with one firm that kind of regurgitates the same stuff every year.
I see.
So I think there is some checks and balances in the system, maybe not as great as we'd like, but there is something there.
And then off of that report that we're gonna be given, we have the option to take them up on different levels of their recommendations. So in
So
the
they're
past,
looking
it's
at-
kinda just been like shifted to the side,
I see.
but we'll look to
Our intention is to take it
very
serious.
seriously
Very
this year,
seriously.
yeah.
Good.
And my anticipation from this auditing firm is that, they will give you some good information back. They are looking at everything the way they're supposed to. And I don't wanna go into side comments I've had with some of their work.
Yeah, I mean,
but-
if we,
but they-
if we
they're
were,
much- They're much happier now, and they look forward to coming in and meeting you when they.
yeah, if we were really suspicious or felt something was really out of kilter, yeah, then we would have to initiate a forensic audit.
So what line are we on here?
Assessors.
I can tell you, coming here in the middle of August and looking at what I see here, I don't see anything here that I would consider stealing. The potential to take a dollar out of a box somewhere, it exists everywhere,
Yep.
okay? But I don't see anything that, at this point, that is, people aren't trying to do properly.
Yeah.
And I really, I'm sincere when I say that.
That's good.
That's good to hear.
It is really good, yeah.
I just.
And you know what, I got the
Things are
same-
getting in the wrong boxes, that's all.
But I got the same feeling like when we had the employees here, I'm sorry to go off topic, but on that handbook, and they said, people generally are not abusing the sick. You know, that's what the department had said,
mean-
and
Yeah.
so it is really nice to hear.
Yeah. And
it does make me wanna reconsider about it.
and you have to consider PTO is
No, I don't,
it's a big chunk of money if everybody was using it.
Yeah.
it would be. So anyways, I'm happy to hear that, and I look forward to the auditor's reports that will, that
Assessors has actually
Decrease.
gone down.
Moving down.
Yep. Okay.
And I don't have any specific questions on that one.
Um,
Does anybody else?
Well, let's see, we've got a line item for legal services, but that's included in the selectmen's budget for legal services if the assessors require it.
Right. And that would be legal services, probably for a specific type of abatement that was sizable.
Yeah,
It's a carryover, but it doesn't hurt to have it there.
okay. Treasurer. You made a comment earlier, Jim, on the treasurer's deputy, that we do not have one, but we should be considering getting one.
She's got $1,000 stipend.
Is that sufficient?
It is, I think, for now,
Okay.
yeah. Because at one point, there were 2 people in there, okay,
Mhm.
working like beavers for most of the week. Quite frankly, Carlene does very nicely without having somebody else in there for a requirement of time. I think what you need for a deputy treasurer is somebody who has some familiarity with what's going on and might come in once in a while just to keep updated, and if something happens,
Yeah.
you know, to the treasurer where the treasurer's out. Okay.
Well, one thing we were doing, I hate to get off topic, was we were cross-training people in the past where a person like Susan or Jennifer could step in when somebody got sick or went on vacation or something
Well,
like
That's
that.
not a bad thing to do.
In this case, would it make sense to have Roger be that person?
No.
No, no,
Can't.
Roger, no, no, no.
Conflict.
That's,
Have
that's,
in and out, like do the same job. Cause Roger deals with paying bills,
You
right.
so
can't
he
sign
can't
off.
also
No,
accept money.
that's a definitive conflict of interest and definitely not advisable.
No, that would,
Not that anybody would do anything.
I
surrender.
Yeah.
no, Roger for the select, on behalf of the selectmen, prepares the manifest that go to the treasurer to release money, okay?
Yeah.
And so he basically, you can't be a selectman and a treasurer,
That
so
may-
you shouldn't be doing what Roger's doing, to be a deputy treasurer.
Right, and, you know, if Susan or Jennifer weren't quite as busy, you know, that might be, hey, learn a little bit about this job.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, it's not a big
I
budget
actually talked to
item.
her
Yeah,
about
you
it,
did.
and, because I take money for the
Oh.
permits, I don't feel comfortable doing that.
All right, that's fine,
Yeah.
that's
I
fine.
mean, I would if it had to be, but
No,
I
it,
just,
it's
again, for the
just,
conflict of
it's just we
interest.
have people already employed, and to cross-train, you know,
Makes
that's
sense,
always a good, good idea.
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
nice to
as
have
much depth as we
in-house
can get.
Coverage,
Yeah, I mean,
for sure.
Debbie was doing that for a period of time before she took the job of tax collector when she was in planning office.
But there again, treasurer is down 2,000 less, so.
Yep, that's comfortable.
It's good.
Okay.
So on the revaluation, I said one question, in the request from October, it was 23,400. And it's 20,440.
That was a typo,
Okay, this was a typo in this book?
yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, it was a mistake, but that's okay, but, so I guess you'd call it a typo, 20,440.
Okay.
That's the real one.
Mm-hmm.
That's the real one, and let me just check one thing. Okay. Because maybe we found something, okay. Oh, I found something out.
You okay, Sue? Olson? I feel the same thing, you almost got me.
Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't even thinking. It's just-
I don't think you can
Are you
stop
sure
a
you're
yawn. I don't care how hard you try, you cannot stop a yawn.
20,440.
Okay.
I just checked in the 636, it's the same thing,
Okay.
20,440, yeah.
Okay,
Legal selectmen, I recommended we take down from 45 to 30.
yeah.
I don't see why you couldn't go down to,
We have no legal actions looming.
well, yeah, no, it depends what you all do, but you spend time.
It could be us, it could be other people as well.
No, I mean, is anything on the foreseeable horizon?
I don't see anything on the foreseeable horizon. From the selectmen's perspective, we'll have, I'm gonna use the town attorney a little bit for selling the property, just to make sure that it just helps, because they have the clerks to do it, go do it. Some of the parcels, we would have to give back some money possibly on, depending on what they sell for. And quite frankly, it would be nuts to go through that drill. So the amount we can keep goes up a few $100 per parcel, do it.
So that's a good
That-
point,
that's
like
not-
not to break it down too far, but, cause we would have that auction coming,
There's gonna be some
yeah,
expenses.
so,
That's next year, you know.
so we'll
and-
put that down to 20.
Yeah.
I think it was at 25 before it got moved up to 45. if memory serves.
Yeah, it was, and I was on the board at the time it got moved to 45 because we had 2 or 3 major lawsuits that we anticipated spending.
Yeah.
Planning board was intending to sue one of the developers or vice versa.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of things on the horizon. Right now, that's why I asked the question, there's nothing.
Yeah.
So
No,
what do you wanna go to, 25?
Well, 20.
20 seems
Well,
low.
we only expended 10,000 last year.
Yeah, I know. You just never know what's gonna crop up.
Well,
25
there always seems
seems,
to be a little bit of money here or there to,
yeah, I know, we could cut and cut, but, I don't know, I'm comfortable with 25, but not 20.
Jason, 20,
20 it is.
20.
Just as long as you can keep the planning board in line, you're okay. The assessors aren't gonna cost you much this time.
Yep.
All right,
Has the town ever overspent the budget,
yes,
this town?
I think so, and I think maybe in 2019.
Talking to Jim, we're on fire right now.
I think maybe in 2018 or 19, I could look it up for you, the budget was slightly overspent.
Yeah,
But when they say overspent, per the state statute, it's the entire budget, not including school and county, but the entire town budget, special articles and everything else, that you spend more,
Yeah.
okay?
what happens when we spend more? I mean, say we had mega snowstorm after mega snowstorm after mega snowstorm, and the highway budget just went berserk.
Well, there would probably be a state of emergency at that point.
Well,
or
we hope so.
You can,
Out of the fund
yes,
balance,
if you
yeah.
see you have an emergency,
Planning board.
it could be a number of things. If you have an emergency, you can petition the state of New Hampshire to overspend your budget. But you need to do it before you overspend the whole budget.
Yeah, but if we spend, just because we lose track of our accounting, do they come out down on us like the wrath of
Yeah.
God?
No, they don't come down on you.
Hmm.
What happens is, this is, to my knowledge, this has never happened. I looked at it happening somewhere else one time, okay? And that was, if you overspend the budget, a citizen can petition the Superior Court for the removal of those responsible for overspending the budget. I've seen,
Okay, can we,
Yeah, I'd like
just,
to-
I'm gonna cycle
Yep.
back to this.
Okay,
We've
got
a
it.
few more departments to go through.
yeah,
Thank you.
I agree.
We're on
Planning board. Looks good, except for I still have problems with that master plan.
I was gonna say 394, I think there's not enough information given to justify expenditure at this time.
I mean, you know, we've talked about commercial districts at least 3 times to my knowledge. The master plan has always been done in-house. It's not that hard to really rewrite it. If somebody wants to sit down and do it, and they don't wordsmith it to death at the board. I think it's just a,
Well, you know, to speak to
Expenditure.
that point, the planning board's workload overall has increased substantially, where they're taking on and commenting on a wider array of things that could be considered under the umbrella of the planning board. So I see the value in not necessarily burdening that board fully with the rewriting of the master plan.
Well, where does the money being spent on? All I said was rewriting of the master plan.
I mean, it's not that big a deal, Sean, to rewrite the
Yeah,
master
it's
plan.
contracted out.
Yeah, it's not that big a deal to rewrite it, because I've rewritten it.
Okay,
I've done it, and it only takes maybe 2 meetings and 2 people to sit down, work out anything that needs changing, and you're good to go for another 5 years.
when did you rewrite it?
I think I rewrote it in 2014 or so.
Alright, cause this says that it hasn't been looked at or redone in almost 20 years.
No, that's not true.
Okay.
That is absolutely not true. In fact, it was done in 2007, and then again in 2014, I did it with Tim Jones.
Okay,
And the board at the time looked at it. We, you know, Tim and I worked it through. We looked at what we had. And there was very little to really update on there. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, if you've read the master plan, it's very vague, very fluffy, can be translated a number of ways. And there is very little that's actually specific or numerical in there.
And that's where, when Dee was in, I think she's looking to dig a little bit deeper, make it a little bit more specific, making, significant improvements in the master plan.
Well, it's worked well for 20 years. The specifics are actually in the planning board regulations, the technical aspects. The master plan is a direction, a general direction, a very general direction, based on the perception of the residents. It is not meant to be hard and fast. It's meant to be loose and interpretive.
It's not gonna tell you how many feet of hose we're gonna need in the fire department in 20
No,
years.
it doesn't. But it says, look, we want to maintain the aesthetics, the natural beauty, we want to promote the growth of the town. I mean, vague statements like that. Yet, on the other side of the coin, we've had residents fight tooth and nail against putting in another strip mall. So, I mean, and we're talking commercial districts. And we've done commercial districts, or offered commercial district planning 3 times, to my knowledge, and it's been shot down by the voters 3 times. So, I mean, we do need it, but we have no, it's like trying to get a police station in here. We just keep beating our heads against the proverbial wall.
Well, because it hasn't been, the information hasn't been put out.
I think we removed the 5,000.
I want it gone.
You want it on?
I know, I want it gone, excuse me. I think the 5,000 has no place in this budget.
I also want to point out there's 2 entries for the master plan commercial district, 394 and 999.
Why not?
Hmm.
They both have numbers, so they probably need to be merged.
This town's tried to vote for commercial district. It's been unable to do it. Many years ago, the only suggestion I saw that people liked was put the commercial district on Route 119.
Yep.
Which is a few hundred feet.
And Rich
Next
has
to
agreed
Rich.
to take care of the policing for it, so this works out good for us.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, so there's a note, from Dee that requests to have 394 and 999 put together
yeah,
to minimize,
yeah,
confusion.
I'd strike them both or return, zero them out.
Well,
They both have amounts,
yeah,
and
they,
394 and
Just have to-
399.
999 is zero.
Yeah, so we should strike that and then zero out, 394.
but it has a budget amount for 2021 that should probably be moved to the,
I have the history in there. I can't eliminate the account.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Alright, so it won't wash for another year, or whatever, yeah, okay. Yeah, I guess. I'm in a 2 against 1 scenario here.
I've been there.
well, we all have. How's that?
Yeah.
That's why there's 3 people.
Can you imagine if we had 5 opinions?
All the time.
I think it's short-sighted, but.
Zoning looks pretty reasonable.
Alright, so that is getting, 394 is zeroed out.
Yep.
And that puts the planning board budget to 5,500.
Yep.
ZBA went way up, huh? Did it? Oh, no, that's total planning.
No.
I'm looking at the wrong line, sorry.
No, zoning looks reasonable.
Alright,
So this would be 60. Yeah, zoning, hard to call level funding unreasonable.
okay?
Yeah, good. ZBA is fine.
I do building improvements and building maintenance. Someday I'd like to see them straightened out, but do we have enough money set aside if we were to want to tackle the wish list that the fire department gave
Well,
us?
there's $5,000 that wasn't expended last year.
And I believe, I don't know if you were at the meeting, Sean, I think somebody said that Mark came up with a quote or an estimate of 16,000.
For the two fire department buildings?
There's only one that she's
Oh, one.
looking at.
All right.
Yeah, I wasn't at that meeting.
I think, but it was just a, you know, a rough estimate.
I thought they both needed a little bit of work.
It looks like we could address some of that right now.
Do you think we could get that?
Yeah, or we're gonna take that right out, because it hasn't been used, right?
Which line item are you looking
I'm
at?
curious about that. We've done a lot of work around here, where all the monies have come from. No, where is, see that unit on the wall right there?
Well, no, that was other funds. Yeah, that was out of a capital improvement.
Out of our capital
Yeah,
improvement.
reserve, yeah, out of our reserve account.
Yes.
So which one are you looking at here?
420,
So you'd like to increase that
building
to
improvement.
60?
I'm not saying we necessarily want to increase it, I'm putting the thought out there. Do we, if we're going to address on top of what we do here, them two were supposed to be temporary buildings, but now,
My asking when I put this together, the best I could come out with was, at some time in the distant past, this was used for minor improvements in the building,
repainting the walls or.
Yeah,
such as replacing the doorknobs.
yeah. Well, I think we're
I don't
talking,
know where the doorknob replacement got.
yeah,
That's
No,
what
cause
I'm
well,
saying.
there's a maintenance line,
That's
431.
Yeah.
what I'm saying, there's 15,000 here.
yeah,
We used to have 20,000 budgeted.
yeah. I mean, I'm thinking
I
that,
see where, in 431, it's got 17,000 on it, okay, charge. Quite frankly, some of that probably belongs over on 420.
yeah.
Or can we combine the lines, or get rid of one of them, just add the money to the next, since that one's not being used, can we bump 431 up to 20?
Well,
Yeah,
okay.
and any real capital improvement is probably gonna be done through a warrant article or
Well, I mean,
through a bond or something.
the fire department building, the back one, the rear one, seems to be the one that needs the most work. And I think we can't, you said that Mark came up with a number of about $16,000.
Do you recall that?
I remember the number between $10,000 and $20,000. That's what I remember. So, you know, you're in the groove there. What I'm thinking is that we need to continue to maintain our buildings in general, but if we put that $16,000 number into line 420 for general building improvement, and then directed Mark to maybe get a contract to do it rather than have him do it, and make the necessary repairs, identify and make the repairs.
Yeah.
We'd have the money budgeted, and we could actually tackle some of the problems. In particular, start with the structural and then work our way up.
But isn't the difference in, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but
Yeah.
the difference between the GGB custodian and, the maintenance, isn't one his salary and the other is
Yeah,
off the
custodian is salary, GBD building improvement
That's
is,
the one we're talking about.
is what
Yeah,
we're
it's
really
5,000.
talking about.
We're looking at 420 and 431, so those are the two.
Yeah. Oh, they shouldn't just be combined.
My apologies.
Because
thank
they
you.
seem generally.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you.
the descriptors leave something to be desired.
But we're budgeting 20 grand to work on the buildings is what it's,
Yeah, well, what I,
this, is that what you see? Right
Yeah,
now?
yeah,
we're budgeting
like right
20.
yeah, right now, we're budgeting 20. I'm
We did do a
suggesting
fair
leave
amount of
them,
work on these two buildings, so it may be possible that 20,000 could cover.
Well, no, it's like the roof and the heating systems and all like the big project stuff that we've done has been covered through those reserve account, like the reserve accounts. So doesn't really
But they help to reduce your maintenance costs when you do
Oh,
a
yeah.
capital
Yeah.
improvement.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, that's where I'm saying, there may be enough in here to get that back building.
I think we'd be neglecting something else.
Cause it looks like he spent about $18,000 of the 20 budgeted last year.
Does this fall under DPW?
I suppose theoretically it does, but
Not right now, not the way that the account numbers are lined up. Right.
So the money was spent.
yeah.
And I think there was some cell repair work that was done on this building that was a part of that.
On this building.
Yeah, this corner over there.
So we definitely don't wanna cut it, we wanna add a little.
I would like to add it into 420 and go with your $16,000 estimate and just up that line item to 16,000 from 5,000. And pretty much tell Mark that this is earmarked for that fire department
Well, we'd
building.
like it done a lot cheaper than that.
Well, we would like,
But,
Yeah.
but I just don't know, I don't have a good feel for the number.
yeah. Gotta go crawl around underneath that thing and see.
18.
Critters are living under there. Add 16.
So was that a part of it?
No,
Yeah,
that,
no,
that
no,
was
no.
typically what you see when you go to crawl space, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say make it 16,000 and make sure it's earmarked appropriately.
Wow, that would be up to us to direct the money, so
Yeah,
Or do you wanna go a little bit lower at like 10 and?
maybe 10. I'm optimistic. We could get it done for 10.
I'm a total pessimist, I would have gone 20. And that's why.
But I do think that people are willing to spend money on maintaining the buildings.
So
Well,
how about this, how about we strike 420? Cause it's not being utilized at all, so let's zero that out,
okay,
Building improvement.
yeah. And then, on the maintenance line, we put that up to,
30,000,
yeah, 30.
20. Double it.
double it.
It's been overspent.
Okay, so you're gonna make maintenance 31.
We added 10 grand.
No,
No,
so
15.
420 got zeroed out,
Right,
and
right.
then 431 is up to 30,000. So we took that 5,000
Well,
from
nobody's
420.
using 420.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we just took the 5 and added it to that, and then added another 10.
That way we don't have to agonize
for
over
fire
doorknobs.
department. So that's the $15,000 anyways.
I mean, what's a
Yeah,
capital
right.
improvement with a doorknob?
Well, that's what I'm saying, we don't have to agonize over it.
When you take that out one with a key and put in one with the push
Right.
buttons,
I mean, we did
that's
add
a
10
capital
grand.
improvement.
Yep, yeah.
Because you put it in an approved doorknob.
Which I
But I mean, you can go
Okay.
nuts with this.
Oh,
Okay.
Alright,
So we added 10,000 to the bottom line on GG.
Yep,
so that's up to 99,665.
Oh boy. See how they stack up?
We're gonna end up okay.
I wanna see this. We only got 10 more minutes to see what our bottom line is.
yeah.
Well, we can finish on Tuesday too.
Ah.
And that-
Actually,
is
I
that
can
okay?
put it all on the computer and then I can send it to you.
Appreciate it.
Alright,
If we can finish.
okay.
Cemetery. Here's another area where I believe we could use the money
Mhm.
in the cemeteries. I think it's a really good investment.
Dig a
Am I
ditch.
jumping ahead of myself, Sean?
What's that?
Ahead of you?
No.
Are we on the cemeteries?
Yeah, we're on cemetery.
Yeah, if we did not have a legal obligation, I'd say let them just grow the grass.
Alright.
And I would
Okay, Bert.
actually, yes.
Jeez.
It doesn't surprise
You
me.
don't have much
In
value
any
for like
case.
human,
You are worth $14.98 for materials in our current market.
It's so Bert sees his fellow.
So what are you doing with the
neighbor.
cemetery?
We're working on it.
wow.
We're at 49,803.
Yeah.
Um, well, they didn't spend any money in monument repair or tree removal.
Well,
That's
that's not
very
true.
tricky.
That's
That's
not-
all
That's on the
explained
labor,
here.
Cleanup,
on 120 Burt.
yeah.
They put it in that line.
Yeah,
for
I know,
whatever
I mean,
reason.
I just don't think they shuffled the accounts
No.
properly.
And I don't know.
I'm just wondering why it all got dumped into one spot, but maybe it was all labor, you know, and very little in materials.
Well, I believe Ollie said that they used to hire out monument repair, and this
Mm.
time they did it in-house, and these books weren't quite, nobody knew exactly what to do with it. But they spent the money on the monument repair, but it just was paid to an employee.
Yeah.
And then I think the other question came up, well, should he be a private contractor? And that could be worked out. Did we leave it that it could be worked out between the sexton and?
Yeah, I think we did.
And this appears to be their answer to that.
Uh,
That labor line.
I mean, they spent considerably less than they were authorized to spend, bottom line.
Well, I don't know what bills are coming in, but it can't be too much.
Can't be too much.
But I believe that there's a increased amount of work that they're gonna be doing next year,
Or
from what
hoping.
Ollie said, yeah.
They want a lot of cleaning of monuments and brush cutting and that sort of stuff. They're finished cleaning up the cemetery.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's an increase, budget-wise of about $8,000, give or take. We bumped the sexton's salary up 2,000, so that counts for a portion of it. And then, and like you said, Sean, they wanna do some more work. I don't know, should we change any of these line items or just let it go?
8,000.
So the only note that I had from our meeting with Ollie when he came in was to revisit this and look into the cemetery trust funds and possible offsets. Cause there was some
Right,
money that was
right.
out there.
The trustees will be doing that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay. And this may be a case where we're returning it, like we have to make sure that, you know, like the overages, you know, are being returned to the taxpayers every year.
We do
So-
run the risk budgeting it for a department to say, let's make sure we spend every penny, and then we get nothing back. So
Well,
this is an experiment, but
Well, they don't.
You don't
They
see that,
typically
but
we
return money.
see it.
Yeah,
we
and
see
like,
that.
Meredith had stated, and,
If she's
you know, I was privy to it
instructed.
too, and while we we're going over our budget, I had to be careful of not having that old statement of, well, is there something you can buy this year? You know, like to decrease your budget for next year, because it's not a true representation of the budgeting. So I stopped myself, you know, but that had been, you know, year after year, proposed,
Mhm.
like to just spend out your budget, which that narrative is gone.
So what do we do with this?
I'm okay with this.
yeah, let's leave it. Okay, no choice on the insurances.
I think we beat to death.
Yeah.
They're stuck where they are,
And,
I don't-
and it's lower.
and it's lower. How can you argue about that?
Well, one of the reasons it's lower is on the, property liability and workers' comp, and the other one's small, but is that we're only budgeting the amount we're gonna actually pay. And they use the term premium holiday,
Yeah.
but we factored that in. In the past, they were budgeting what was gonna be paid and then just took the revenue.
Alright, so then,
When they say took the revenue, they took it by raising it in taxes,
Yep.
okay, for the full amount, but only having to pay out the lesser amount. And those differences were big,
you
as
know,
you can see from here.
the
Okay,
regional associations is kind of a fixed number.
yep,
Yeah.
yeah, no
There is
choices there.
we belong to New Hampshire Public Works Mutual Aid. Occasionally they have some dues. But that mutual aid, the Public Works, has a legal basis where if we, for example, went to another town because they had a real problem. I'll give you an example of a place I used to work where the adjoining town lost all its snow removal equipment in a big storm. The town I worked for went up there, cleaned the place out. It's hard to get reimbursed if there's a FEMA involved in this,
Right,
unless you have mutual aid, so that's why that exists.
all right. Okay, I'm comfortable with it.
Ambulance,
Ambulance, that's kind of stuck. It is what it is.
Building permit officer,
what's that?
building permit officer would be the next one you have.
Oh, you don't wanna review the ambulance notes at all, or?
I don't think we have a choice here. That's
we?
kind of a fixed fee.
It's a strange relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, the only way to review that is sit down and have a face-to-face meeting with it.
Yeah.
Which we already did.
We've done that,
And they explained, right?
yep.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
what we're
And there-
charging.
And there is a slight correction from how the accounting was done before to how it's being done now, where certain things were over stated and it didn't represent a true budget. So she went through that last year as one of the last things that I, on the board with them, when they were coming up with a budget, asked her to please get things into the actual stratosphere, you know, if she saw a problem, and there was a little issue, so that resulted in some of the increase for the town portion, but going forward, it should be more stable.
I mean, I personally, as a resident, who's looked at this a little bit, I have questions on the computation of it. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, I have questions on it.
Yeah.
As to how they apportion out the cost between two towns. But nobody's getting rich over
No,
there, not by a long shot.
no.
So we got the building permit officer, which is very close to what it was.
Yep.
Did we add in the laptop for Rick?
Huh?
Did we add in the laptop for Rick? I'm not sure.
We did.
Yeah.
I thought it was about 1,500.
Yeah.
Support right
I
there,
got 1,400.
Okay, that's not hard words.
Yep, okay.
And
I just gotta look out for him, you know?
Yeah.
All right, I don't see anything particularly strange
Even with
about
that
this one.
addition, yeah, that's basically the only increase.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Emergency management director, we have a new emergency management director, he, just asked to be, to have the same budget, cause he's gotta go through everything, and he's not quite sure what's where, and Jim Hicks is helping him, and Jim Hicks is very familiar with it. So
Okay.
they just, give us the same budget, we'll work with it, we'll set the place set up. And quite frankly, I've been down here a number of times, and
it's a mess.
they got a lot of work cut out.
Yeah,
Looks like a junk shop.
it is,
Yeah.
it does. I've been in there a couple times, I couldn't figure out even how to turn the
But
thing
there's a
on.
nice big meeting room down there.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh. 1 o'clock. So that'll be our last item for today.
Okay.
If you could, take a look at it before Tuesday's meeting, have any questions ahead of time?
Yep.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
So I will move to. adjourn the
Before
meeting.
you do,
Yeah.
how do we want to handle the warrant articles, because we have not discussed those?
Same thing. It'll be
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Do it Tuesday,
Yeah, this will-
okay.
Hard.
This will take precedence over any other
Any
agenda items.
proposed.
Yeah.
That's fine.
So the rest of the budget, the warrant articles on Tuesday,
Yep.
Correct.
okay.
Second the motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.